then we're all good.
Correct.
All good. Okay, awesome. We're going to go live on YouTube here. Hey, everybody on YouTube. How y'all doing tonight? We got another great show. Corns, the booking guy, grabbing another fantastic guest as we have Nathaniel Gillis. We're talking demons tonight. Yes, we're getting in deep into the dark paranormal, and we're going to have some fun. I'm trying to do a little bit of a microphone setup here. I don't know if it's going to work for me. I don't know if I like it. I really don't. But we'll figure it on out as we go on throughout the night. Let's give a shout out to everybody who is here so far. We got Bee's Nest, Jack Clark, Ghost. Good to have you all here. Jurassic Joey, Jarhead. Thank you for coming on in. Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, and the Scoreboard Lounge. By the way, Nathan, I got to let you know, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob owns a bar called Scoreboard Lounge. So every time we say the word woo, he's got to buy the bar around. But every time we say the word plethora, the entire bar has to buy around. So if we got to work, we got to make sure we work those words in. Okay. Let's awesome. You know, because they're all paying attention there. It's a jam-packed bar right now, and they're all paying attention to what you and I are talking about on Woo. They call it Woo Wednesdays around the bar now. It's getting advertised. Okay. All right.
Awesome.
Minister Elaine, good to have you here. Thank you for coming on in. Crystal Light, good to see you. Roscoe, always a pleasure. Little Deborah, thank you for coming on in. Commonwealth Andrew, good to see you. Brett Lewis is here, which means we could officially start the show when Brett Lewis arrives. Yes, Dirty Filth, good to have you here. Thank you for coming on in, buddy. Lufon. And we got Vintage Beard is here. Good to have you guys here. Thank you for coming on in. Little Marky Spender is here, everyone. Yes, he's chopping up some trees as we speak. The Philip Matlock, Horror Realm, Tina Prod, Ross Smith. Good to have you all here. Thank you so much. Ross Lambda, good to have you here. Mr. Apnea, Peridoxine, good to see you. Thank you. Lord Ward, always a pleasure to have you here, my friend. The Jim Christie is here. Yes, the Jim Christie. Jose, much pleasure to have you here. Welcome to our chat room. Greco, how's the baklava? Gary the Spudger is here, everyone. Don't mess with the Spudger. Larry, always a pleasure. Robert, good to see you again. Grendel, thank you for coming on in. Scotty, is you as well. And Hillary, welcome. Appreciate you. Thank you for coming on in. All right. I think we're caught up so far. Nathaniel Gillis is our guest tonight. We're going to have some fun with him talking demons. The unfortunate part about Nathaniel tonight, he doesn't have his rockin' hat on. I'm a little pissed off about that, but we will make it through. I promise you we will make it through. Nathan, how you doing, man?
Doing good, sir. It's good to be on the show again. And I've had a few shows since the last one, and I won't ramble as much this round.
We're going to have a fun time. Davin in Vietnam, good to see you here. God's Pet, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. Manitoba Becky, you were looking sparkly tonight. Thank you for coming on in. Yeah, we're going to have a good time, man. Good time. This is a fun topic. It's an eerie topic. And you know what? I like a little spookiness every now and again, man. I like a little spookiness. Kevin, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. All right. All right, we got about 2 minutes here, bud. 2 minutes. Well, about a minute, pardon me. 1 minute. What the hell? Way off on my clock by 1 minute. You can't be there. I know Bill WD-40 is going to be coming in, lubing us up for tonight's show. Hey, Chris Jarvis, good to see you. Thank you for coming on in. I hate this camera angle. Hate it. Hate it. Hate it. I'm going to change the camera for tomorrow. I got a feeling I know what I'm going to do. All right. Where the hell is my mouse? Oh, it's over on that screen. Bizzle, good to have you here. We got about 40 seconds, man. And what else? 30 seconds. There he is. Bill WD-40, everyone. Bill WD-40 is here. He has lubed us up for tonight's show, and we're going to have a great time. And let's send out that final tweet. And we got like 20 seconds. Hi, gorgeous Jules. Good to have you here. Hope you got your hair down tonight. 10 seconds, my friend. Remember, if you're new here and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please do so. That helps us out. Give us a thumbs up or thumbs down and ring that little bell thingy. Apparently, it tips you off when we're coming on. Our website, you can do a little shopping at the SOR Vault as well. Join the Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. Hey, Fabster and Grandma Rose. Always love having you here, man. Thank you. All right, Nathan, here we go. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, hanging out with all of you tonight as we get into a very dark night of woo. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Now, if you want to take a listen to our archives, we have them free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Nathaniel J. Gillis is an author, lecturer, and religious demonologist. After being in a deliverance ministry for 15 years, Nathaniel felt called to bring his gifts and research to a more secular venue. The experiences he had as a child while living in a haunted house inspired him to research the fields of demonology and paranormal. In addition to such disciplines, Nathaniel is also the founder of Preternatural Epiphenomenal Philosophy. It is his belief that demonology is not the study of new life, but the study of old life in a new way. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, we are going to join Vancouver for The Shift across Canada, as well as the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave. Nathaniel Gillis, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. It's been a while since we had you on, but we are delighted to have you back. How are you?
Thank you. It's good to be here. I'm wonderful. And like I said, I've done a lot of shows since then, and now I'm able to give a better presentation. So I'm anxious to dig into this stuff.
Oh, me too, my friend. Me too. Hey, a lot of people may not know who you are, and that's fine. A lot of people don't know who the heck I am. But, you know, you are someone who has gone through the paranormal like your entire life. Take us back in time to how it all started and which really carved your niche in your own life.
Okay. It all started for me when my parents moved into a new house. It was the open house that we went to. It was the very first time I ever saw a full-bodied apparition. And so it was even before we purchased the home. But that day was crazy because my dad had taken me by the hand, led me into what would be my future room. And he said, you know what? He said, take a look around, figure out where you want to put your bed and your Sega, and just kind of get an idea of what the layout's going to be. And so he left and went back and started talking to the realtor, and I'm just kind of poking around the room, opened up the closet doors, and for some reason I was led to the bed, and I could just feel there was a presence in the room. And so I knelt down, and I cannot tell you why, but I knelt down by the bed and pulled the little flap, the blanket up. And as soon as I did that, my face was met with a full-bodied apparition of a little girl. She was pale, she had black hair, and she was in a white linen dress that was very aged. And so from that moment on, we moved into the house, and from that moment on, I experienced shadow figures. There would be a stench whenever the entity would manifest. It would smell like rotten flesh. So that was my introduction, if you will, to this phenomenon field. But yeah, that's how I got started.
Now, when you look back, I mean, for having to have that all happen during your childhood, that can be very traumatic because that's a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of nightmares, a lot of parents saying, oh, it's just your imagination. Did you go through all of the emotions that went along with moving into that house?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had I had my share of nightmares. My nightmare was unique in that it was always black and white, and it was the same repetitive vision. It was about suicide. Somebody, it was a teenage kid. He was sitting with another boy on a picnic table, and they both looked at me, and one had a needle in his arm, and the other one pulled out a .357 Magnum, put it in his mouth, and pulled the trigger. And so at that moment, I would scream, and I would wake up in a cold sweat, and there would be a profound darkness hovering over me. It made me feel like I was the smallest particle in the universe when it would fill the room. But yeah, I went through all of that. I flunked 2 grades because for some reason I felt safe only when the lights were on or when the sun was up. And so my pattern, my way of dealing with it was staying up the whole night, sleeping 45 minutes before I had to go to school, and then basically crashing when I got to my class. It was awful.
That had to be tough. Did your parents believe what you were going through?
My dad did later on. They were both working a lot of hours, and I don't think that they experienced half of what I experienced in the house. But when we actually left the house later on, I think it was about 8 to 10 years later, my dad told me as we were moving, he goes, son, I never wanted to tell you this. He says, but I really do believe someone died violently in that house. And I'm like, well, that's like 8 years too late, Dad,
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like, thanks, Dad. I appreciate you believing me now. All those times you scolded me for not going to bed, not turning the TV off, not doing anything like that. Oh, yeah. I appreciate that, Dad.
Yeah. It was a crazy time of my life. I mean, man, there would be times where I would be sleeping, and I'm a very light sleeper, and I would hear someone walking on our wooden floors, like someone physical. They were displacing their weight, and it was physical enough to creak our floors. It would always seemingly walk up to my door, and then it would stop. One of the craziest things I've ever seen or even heard of, it wasn't the conversations that I would hear above my head, but it was the entity. It was a shadow figure that was about 7 to 8 foot tall that would stare at me through my window. One time I was playing Tekken on my gaming system, and I just looked out of the corner of my eye, and Dave, it's right there, just staring at me. The next morning, this was in the wintertime, mind you, the next morning I went outside and saw his footprints.
No kidding.
And yeah, that's what really stuck with me, especially when I got into the Christian tradition that I was a part of for years, because, how are demons that physical? I thought they were spirit, and so that's what really inspired me to go deeper into this field.
Nathaniel Gillis is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Nathaniel, going through that with a childhood, were you having a tough time keeping friends? Were you a loner? Was it difficult? Were you getting bullied at that time as well?
I wasn't getting bullied, but I was a loner. That particular entity would it completely took all of my self-esteem away, and so in a sense, it was grooming me to be its next victim. So it would cause fights between me and my family members. I had reserved myself to where I wouldn't talk to anybody about my pain. I wouldn't communicate anymore. So, it really made a profound impact on my life and gave me insight into some of the stuff that people are experiencing. There are a lot of hurting people in this world, especially in hauntology.
Mm-hmm. Did you say hauntology?
Yes, sir.
I've never heard that term before.
Yeah, hauntology, the study of hauntings. Yep.
That is awesome. I learned something tonight. Hauntology.
You know what? We have to get a better vocabulary in terms of this phenomenon, especially demonology, because we still don't even have the words for a lot of what we're experiencing. So, yeah, hauntology.
Did you come up with that, or did you pick it up off of someone?
I read it. I read it in an academic paper, and I wish I could claim that. Are you kidding me? I'd love to claim that,
dude.
but I couldn't.
Nate, I want to ask you in regards to growing up with this phenomena all around, and then, you go through a pretty traumatic childhood with this haunting that was really driving you nuts. Is there any stories from back then that really stuck with you that maybe, to this day still kind of give you the goosebumps?
In terms of what I experienced? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So when this entity would manifest, it would usually be in the corner of my room. It would just evolve literally from a smoky apparition into a cloud of darkness. It was darker than dark. I mean, it would hover in the corner of the room, and it had and the only way I can explain it, Dave, is it had such a vibration to it that it absolutely petrified me. I would be paralyzed in fear. And whenever I encounter entities of the demonic nature, that's something that's common. It's a thematic element that unites every case that I've ever had that's been demonic. But that particular manifestation, I mean, it wasn't just what I saw, but it was what I felt. It was the deepest, darkest entity to date that I've ever encountered. So whenever I think of that, I remember how it made me feel, and my spine begins to tingle.
Now, you grew up in a religious household too, correct?
Yes, sir.
So how did this go with your religious beliefs and the family's religious beliefs?
Well, I think that they just believed that later on, they believed that it was just a demon, in the sense of horns and hooves. But I know that my pastor, he would have never understood this, because this transcended the microcosm of religious dogma. This wasn't horns and hooves. This was something that was physical, And so when I was growing up in the Christian tradition, I was forced by this phenomenon to kind of redesign my understanding and perception of demonology. And so in some ways, Christianity limited my understanding. In other ways, it led me to some of the greatest scholars I've ever read. So it was, there were pros and there were cons to it.
Okay, so when you started questioning your own faith through this and what is real and what is fake, especially when you have those experiences, because I think anybody who has had those type of paranormal experiences, you look at things differently afterwards. And for those who've never experienced anything, I'm sure you'll agree, Nathan, when I say this, it changes you. We always hear of, whether it's emergency medical technicians or firefighters or police officers or people serving in the army in a war zone, that when they get back, they're different because the scenario changes you. It's much like, in a different sense, it's any type of trauma. You could be beaten. You could be in a physically abusive a relationship or sexually abusive or whatever it may be. It beats you up. And when it comes to the paranormal, it doesn't matter whether it's ghosts, demons, UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, or whatever it may be, it changes you because you don't know internally how to react. Can you explain to people how you went through things?
Yes, sir. So I was invaded by the impossible. That's what hauntology is. That's what the paranormal field is all about. And when people are experiencers, they're more so in terms of, especially demonology, victims of this phenomenon. So in a sense, it does give you a form of trauma, and you look at the world differently because you're looking for threats and not for friends. And especially going into homes, that's really added a lot to my calling, because when I go into homes that are haunted, I know what to look for. So as much as I may or may not have been a victim of this particular entity, it allowed me to evolve in my gift and in my calling, and even kind of implement what I learned in cases that I have.
Now, are you also intuitive, to add on to that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My mentor, he used a big word the other day. It wasn't an empath. It was a clairvoyant. Yeah. So there are times when, I'm in a case or something, even just talking to people. I've had people walk up to me, strangers, have a vision, or a deceased ancestor of theirs would come to me and, give me and kind of show me how to help these people. But, I think that that empathic nature assisted me and may have even drawn this entity to me at such a young age.
Okay, so as you started to grow up and as you started to mature, you're going through puberty, you're going through the high school years and getting ready to establish your own lifestyle. How did this affect the way you wanted to do things and the way you had drawn up your life?
It made me want to go to war. Let me clarify that and quantify that in a deeper meaning. I experienced something that was so profound and haunting that it groomed within me a hunger, not just to understand this phenomenon, but to war with it, to victimize it like it victimizes others. And so it framed my worldview in terms of what is it that I have to do to make a difference? What are these entities' victimology? How do they think? Are they mutating? What is it that we are experiencing? Are we experiencing afterlife phenomenon, and we're interpreting it through a religious lens? It really drew up profound questions in my own heart. And I think that's why, thankfully, I've added at least something to this field.
Okay, so as you started going down this path and decided that you needed to do more, you needed to take this a lot more seriously than what you have up until this point. How did the people around you react? Whether they were paranormal friends, whether they were family, regular friends, did people just kind of say, "Whoa, maybe Nathan needs a little bit of a vacation here," or something along those lines?
I still get that, brother. I still get it. People hear demonologist and they think I worship demons. You know what I mean? Like I had a guy ask me that the other day, and I asked him a question because play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Or if demonologists worship the dead or demons, does that mean oncologists worship cancer? No. You know what I mean? So there are a lot of people that are kind of vague in their understanding as to what it is demonology is, or what it is demonologists even do. So I have had my own share of religious persecution, people who would see the fact that I wear all black and, they'll think that I'm some kind of necromancer or something. And it's like, no, I'm a researcher, I study phenomenon. I look at the pathology. And so I had to kind of shed that skin and grow into myself a little bit more.
Okay, so who are you then? Who are you today?
Who I am today, I'm someone whose eyes have adjusted to the darkness. I'm someone that understands a little bit more than I did before and hungers. I'm someone who hungers for a deeper revelation to this stuff. And so my research has kind of molded my understanding of this phenomenon. And, I have quite a unique stance. If you're familiar with my work, or if anybody's listening that's familiar with my other shows, it's a very unique stance on this. So I hope that I am pioneering a new field of research that will unite ufology, specifically abduction phenomenon, with demonology in a way that it's seamless. Because the people who experienced demonic entities were the very first UFO abductees. The very first. We go all the way back to Mesopotamia, and we're going to get into that, but, yeah.
No, for sure. And okay, so as you decided to go on your own personal quest and personal study, how did you prepare to become a demonologist?
Well, I had the experience in terms of manifestations. What I did is I went to academia. I got a hold of every academic paper I could find on demonology. And then I went through just different psychological aspects of it, studied psychology for a while to understand why it is these entities have language preference, why it seems to be what I call memory in motion. And so I poured myself into scholarship, so much so that I saw a little deeper into this field in a way that will be revolutionary, I hope, because if we can unite these fields into what's called the unified field theory, and say, you know what, we're not dealing with multiple species of entities. We're dealing with one species that's manifesting and manipulating in different ways.
Okay, so for people who may not understand, as we got about 3 minutes to go before we go to break at the bottom of the hour, what is a demon?
Okay, there are two definitions. There's the school of thought, what's called systematic demonology. That's mainly, you find that in your Catholic seminaries. And their teaching and tradition is essentially a demon is horns and hooves. It's the fallen angel theory, or it's the offspring of a fallen angel. That's the classical understanding of a demon. Now, my interpretation is that demonic possession, demon, they're disincarnate entities. They were formerly human. They're disembodied souls. And so that's where I couch my research. It's not that we're studying new life. We're studying old life in a new way. And so to answer your question directly, a demon is an evil disincarnate spirit. And tonight I will prove it in terms of academia and scholarship from the beginning of the Bible to modernity.
How many demons are out there?
It depends on how many people have died. You know,
because talking to a lot of people in the paranormal world, you know, it's very rare for them to actually run into a true quote end quote demon. So I'm just curious.
Correct.
I'm just curious. How often is this happening? How often, like if you're the demon hunter, which I think you are, and I kind of like calling you that because it sounds kind of like a cool name. All right.
Yeah.
What you know, how many demons are you dealing with on an annual basis? 2?
It's very rare. It's very rare because when you encounter a demonic entity, you're going to have someone who is ancient in either being or belief system. And so I liken these particular entities to serial killers because they're ritualistic. Their IQ is through the roof. In addition to that, they have their own language preference. It's not human anymore. And when you encounter them, you're going to be facing something that is at least 30 seconds ahead of you in time and can see enough of the future to literally stand in your face at any moment you turn around. So is it rare? Of course, it's very rare. And so, you know, I think that a lot of people, they'll go out there and say, you know what, everything's a demon. It's not. It's not. A demon is not just an evil disincarnate spirit.
Right.
We're dealing with disincarnate entities that have a PhD in terror.
All right, leave it right there because we're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Nathaniel Gillis is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. He is a demon hunter. How cool of a title is that? Hi, Nathaniel Gillis, demon hunter.
I love it.
Nice to meet you.
I love it.
Oh, yeah, I love it too. Nathaniel Gillis, more on demons on Spaced Out Radio coming up after this break. Sweet, man. Sweet.
Dude, I promise you, man. I knew that I listened to my last interview with you, and I'm like, dude, Dave is killing it, man. Like, Dave is a great host.
Oh, stop!
But I just kept rambling, man. So I had to, like, you know. There we go.
Hold on, let me hit that. There we go. Now I'm back to normal.
There we go, man. Yeah, I had to perfect my craft, and it took me a while, and so. Dude, once we get into this stuff deeper, it's terrifying.
Oh, let's go. I'm ready to go.
Oh, yeah, man. It's, oh my God, Dave, these entities have their own language. Like Steve Mera and Barry Fitzgerald discovered this. I discovered it in my papers. They discovered it in real life. It's a vibration like it's a vibrational sequence to them. And it's insectoid. So imagine it's literally walking up on a locust or a grasshopper, not knowing it's there until you can hear it. It's creepy, man.
I haven't heard a demon yet, but I have heard Bigfoot talk. That was kind of cool.
Really?
Yeah.
What does it sound like?
It sounds like, remember you could probably still get them on some of the older cable television shows where, you know, you get the old Japanese movies that, you know, you hear them and they're like, you know, I'm not trying to intimidate or intimate or whatever the hell the word I'm looking for, imitate the Japanese, you know, to make fun, but they literally sound like that. David Paulides likes to call it samurai talk.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it is amazing. Amazing.
That would terrify me, man. I'd be like, what in the world is that?
Oh yeah, it was intense. We're going back out there this weekend, and we're gonna put a gifting site up there, see what happens.
I bet you're excited, man.
Well,
I would be.
The funny part about it is where we had this happen in 2018, there's up where I live, about 24 miles west of me, Canada's largest unsolved murder happened there when a plane blew up in the sky and there was a bomb on board and they've never solved it.
Wow.
Yeah. So that is kind of how it got going. And when we were there doing a paranormal investigation, that's where we were getting tracked by these, whatever they were. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, that's a life-changing event for anybody.
Yeah.
Wow. I wish to God I would have an experience like that. That would change my life.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was cool. The one got within about 20, 25 feet of my buddy. Mm-hmm. We never saw them, but you could hear them. I couldn't because I was kind of in the middle of my two buddies who were having experiences. And it was it was intense. It was very intense.
Let me ask you this, because I used to go to a church with a guy a long time ago. He was a big game hunter. And he was hunting one day, and he had one of those, I guess, Bigfoot walk near him. And he said that, actually, I'm sorry, let me back up. While he was hunting, he went to bed, and he was in his tent. And he saw the shadow through his tent of this, Bigfoot. And he said that there was a stench, like the actual being, it stunk. So did you guys ever smell it? Like actually smell the entity or a Bigfoot?
No.
Okay. Well, hey, man, a sighting is a sighting. I'd rather see it than smell it, So that's awesome.
1 second here. All right, we got about 1 minute. Of course you can, goof on. Of course you can. Little Richie G, make sure if you're a fan of ours that you go over to Goof On Radio and you go subscribe to Richie's channel because it is phenomenal. I watch it every night before I go on the show here because Rich is just that damn funny and that damn good. So make sure you head on over to Goof On YouTube and hit subscribe on that channel as well, and hit that bell button so that way you can know when Richie's programs are coming on up. You won't be disappointed. Love us some Richie G. Love us some Richie G around here. All right. Thank you to everybody tuning on in. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up or down. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell for us. You can do a little shopping at the SOR Vault on our website and join the Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. It helps us on out. We're going to be revamping the Space Travelers Club very, very soon. Here we go, everyone, with the second half hour. Nathaniel J. Gillis is our guest. Second half hour is underway tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, hanging out with all of you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be in your night. I'm going to tell you right now, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with author, lecturer, demonologist Nathaniel J. Gillis. We're talking demons all night long. It's a plethora of woo tonight, everyone, as Nathan comes on in. Nate, welcome back, man.
Good to be back, sir. Good to be back.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. We got into a little bit of what demons are, coming into this half hour. And, I got a couple of questions I want to ask you. Have you ever dealt with like incubuses and succubuses? And I'm not talking about my ex-wife, okay, or my former mother-in-law who's still pissed off a house landed on her sister. Okay, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about real ones here.
Oh, absolutely. And to be truthful, we cannot tell if they're a species, if they're a genderless species that's just manifesting through the incubus as a male and a succubus as a female, or if they're actually two separate, different kinds and species. So, yeah, of course I have. And the research is far darker than anything that is in pop culture. It really is. But I've encountered them. I had one case where the entity was grooming the wife. It was an incubus spirit. And it would actually lay in between the husband and the wife at nighttime. And the husband, it was really terrible. I mean, it was interesting. But the husband asked me, he said, Nate, he goes, I can feel it on my head, like near my head, and my wife can feel it near her feet at the same time. And he says, why is that? I said, because it's laying in between you two. And so what I tell everybody is this, an incubus is something that will groom its victims. It will love bomb them like a narcissist. And if it doesn't get what it wants, it can get violent. Like this particular husband, he really wasn't buying the whole incubus idea. So his wife would come to him and say, you know what, last night I was sleeping and the bed began to move. Something actually walked on the bed and began to touch her. And he's like, you know what, I don't really buy into that. Well, that night, as he's sleeping, that incubus entity, he punched him right in the face, Dave. So hard that the next day he had to go to the hospital because he had a case of Bell's palsy. And the doctor, upon examination, said that, he asked him, have you been in an encounter, like a physical encounter with someone? Because there's physical trauma here. But see, this idea of an incubus and succubus does not end and begin with the harvesting of seed, if I could say it like that, okay? Because that's what a succubus does. And it does not end with an incubus looking for intercourse. What we're witnessing are entities who are trying to create another species. And what they're doing, it's like what Father Sinistrari said. He's a Franciscan priest in Amino. He said that these entities, he had cases, let me back up, this is nuts. He had cases, Dave, where he would actually enter the room an hour from the actual incubus event from happening. So, an hour ago, that entity manifested, and it sometimes would even, push itself on the woman. But he would get there an hour later and collect semen samples, Dave.
Ew.
Actual physical substance manifested from this entity. Is this okay? Can I go deeper in this for a second?
Oh, I'm enthralled here, man. Let's do this thing.
Okay. Here's where it's at. We will never understand these entities by names and titles. We have to look at the phenomenon. The phenomenon says that these entities, the entities, incubus, they're actually taking semen from either living people or people who are recently deceased. and they're trying to implant it into the living wombs, plural, of women. Father Sinistrari was one of them that witnessed this phenomenon. Also, the vampirologist Montague Summers witnessed this phenomenon. Now, what's interesting about this, Dave, is that Father Sinistrari of Aminos said that these entities were, quote, milking the carcasses of the deceased in graveyards. That's where they were getting whatever it was that they wanted to implant into living women. They're trying, it's almost a sense. See, that gets back into demonic impregnation. These entities aren't just, they're not doing this for their pleasure. They're not doing it for, our pleasure. That doesn't matter to them. They're trying to recreate something by using us. And, it can get very dark very quickly, but this has to be exposed.
Okay, so that almost sounds like alien abduction from the Greys.
Of course it is. That's why that's what I've been saying, the whole time.
So you're saying that, are you then saying that the Greys are demonic entities?
I think that we understood them first as the term demonic. But I think what we're dealing with are disincarnate spirits who are creating what are called second selves. So what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to be embodied again, guys. This is not, extraterrestrial. This is about the interconsciousness of humanity. It's afterlife phenomenon. I mean, I can prove this, and I have manuscripts. We can go for days, but it is. The incubus and succubus entities are doing the exact same things. The behavioral patterns mirror each other. How many cases have we had specifically of women who thought they had intercourse with a being, and then they had another thought or another dream of where they were pregnant with something? And let's go back to this. This is fascinating. It's a fascinating aspect to it. But it's not an accident, guys, that the very first part of the Islamic ritual in exorcism, the very first question they ask is, first of all, have you had a dream that you've had intercourse with someone? Number two, if you answered yes, then have you had a dream that you are now pregnant from that? So, this is the same beast. And so in order for us to even contemplate this phenomenon for what it is, we have to go back to Mesopotamia, into prehistory, to Genesis 6, and understand not just what they do, but what they believe in. What do they value? That's the root of this problem. And until demonology understands that, we're going to be light years behind them. So that's why this is such a profound field.
So where are these alien demons who are taking our sperm and eggs coming from?
Some people call them interdimensional. I think that they're in the afterlife. I can't define what the afterlife is yet, right? Obviously. But, wherever they are, they do not want to be. And so they have what I call the disability of being. And this is going to be, I hope everybody can get this. It's the disability of being a being without a body. And so the earliest manifestation of this phenomenon, they were not grays, they weren't in ships. They were entities who knew they were about to die and would call upon someone to create a metallic image of them. We call those sarcophagi or a sarcophagus. And then when they died, they would possess, hello, demonic possession, they would possess what are called steles, that the actual metallic image of themselves. The Bible calls them idols. They weren't just idols. people didn't create idols just to worship them. There was a belief, and it was an actual truth to them, that the entity would literally use people to mold a metallic body, possess that body, step into it, and actually animate the metal it's in. Now, can I give you a reference to an actual historical,
Sure.
I guess?
Let's do this thing, man.
Fascinating. All right. So in 2008, the University of Chicago commissioned a group of archaeologists, and they sent them to Turkey on what's called the Zincirli expedition. During this expedition, the archaeologists unearthed a sarcophagus by a man. It belonged to a man named Katamua. Katamua, he actually wrote, and this is where the inscription part comes in, he actually wrote instructions to people who would actually discover his sarcophagus in the future. So in the inscription, it says that I knew I was going to die. And so I went and I paid what they call artificers. I paid someone to create this stele or sarcophagus for me. Then he says two things that I need everyone to pay attention to. Number one, my soul will inhabit this stele or this sarcophagus. So give me a metallic image of myself. It will look like Katamua. And then when Katamua dies, his soul leaves his body and it possesses that stele. That's the very first tradition of possession. It pre-exists any biblical narrative in terms of, possession cases. Okay, so that's the first fact. The second fact is not only am I possessing this metallic image of me, but I want those who discover me to bring me what are called oblations and offerings. This is why if you're dealing with a demon, he's going to want murder and blood. That's how it survives. To him, it's an offering. And so that's where possession first began. That's where the idea of having a second self that looked like me, right, so that I can inhabit it and actually have some form of existence in this dimension. So that is the seedbed from which the idea of the demon and possession came. And in addition to that, it is that tradition that we have to understand before we approach the Bible, specifically Genesis chapter 6. And I'm going to leave it there for now.
Nathaniel J. Gillis is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking demons tonight. Nate, I got to ask you in regards to, how demons form, how they are coming along as we kind of shift gears a little bit here. Are they all from the pits of hell like we think, or that we've been told through biblical teachings?
They are, and they aren't. Because that question, it's a very good question. It's a very profound question. Because a lot of people confuse hell with the grave, Sheol. And so to answer your question, yes, they are, but they're not from the eternal flame. But they are from the grave. Absolutely. That's why they're so fascinated with dead bodies. That's why when we go into homes, we will smell the substance that's upon them physically. We will smell what's called the disembodiment. It's the stench that surrounds them. So that's what I experienced in my youth. They're necromancers, Dave. That's what they are. They're necromancers. And so when we go into Genesis 6, we read that passage, and there are a lot of people that they go to the Book of Watchers from Enoch, and the Testament of Reuben, and all these different texts. But in academia, they all have what are called meaning-bearing inconsistencies. So, some people will blame Genesis 6. Do you know what the Genesis 6 legend is? I know you do, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I found many different inconsistencies throughout these different books that were, describing what Genesis 6 says. So the sons of God, this is the very first incubus case. The sons of God saw the daughters of men, and that they were fair, and went in unto them. Hello, incubus. And made unto them wives, and they bore children. Now, here is the most sinister concept of this historical event to date. It wasn't until I read what's called the Apocryphon of John. For those who are unfamiliar, because I was too, the Apocryphon of John is a Coptic manuscript that was written and preserved by Egyptian monks in between the 2nd and the 4th centuries. Okay? In this manuscript, it gives us further insight into, number one, the victimology and the pathology of these entities. Well, this is unbelievable. It stopped me in my tracks. It says that these entities first appeared to women as the apparition of their husbands and not as their true husbands. So that's an incubus. Not only did they appear to them in the image of what they thought was their husband, but once they had moved them into intercourse, at the moment of conception, they stared directly into the eyes of these women and instantaneously reversed their apparition to what they truly looked like. Now, that is, again, we have to understand what they believe, and the only way to do that is to understand their behavioral patterns. The idea of looking into the face of a woman at the moment of conception is an ancient obstetric belief. Obstetric, meaning childbearing, or deals with fertility. But the belief was that whatever the woman is staring at, she will create the material image of in her womb.
That could be ugly.
It's terrifying. So then the passage moves into some deeper revelation, and it says that from the darkness, that tells you what kind of spirit it was, from the darkness, these women begat children whose likeness was of that apparition. Now, remember what Katamua wanted, right? He wanted a body that looked like him. And then I'll possess it. That's what happened in Genesis 6. Matter of fact, that word Nephilim,
right?
We have to understand, guys, that word Nephilim was written at a time when the Hebrew language had no vowels. So do you want to really know what's going on here? I'll tell you what's going on. That word Nephal without the vowels means stillborn children.
Interesting. All right.
So, yeah,
we've got about 4.5 minutes before we have to go to break here at the top of the hour. And Nathaniel J. Gillis is our guest. Let's get things up here a little bit, because there's a lot of people who believe they've encountered evil, whether it's evil dolls, evil boxes, evil mother-in-laws, whatever it may be. You have had the opportunity to work with some Dybbuk boxes. Now, this is where we get into some really weird stuff.
Oh, yeah, this is absolutely fascinating. Oh my God. Yeah, the Dybbuk phenomenon is intense.
So for people who do not know, and we'll probably carry this over into the next hour, what is a Dybbuk box or a Dybbuk box?
Well, in pop culture, the Dybbuk box is essentially a wine box or a wine cabinet that someone found, and they took it to their house, and next thing you know, there's hauntology or hauntings going on, possession and paranormal activity. But the Dybbuk phenomenon tradition, it pre-exists that by like 3,000 years. I mean, not that far back, but The dibuk is just a Hebrew word for a ghost. In the Bible, they're called unclean spirits. And if you really want to get into this, the whole idea of a dibuk originated in terms of the name, originated in the 16th century. Scholars call it the age of the demoniac. And there were two primary Kabbalistic exorcists in that area of the world. It was actually 16th century Safdi. It was a province in Israel. But the first one was Isaac Luria, and he was training a group of exorcists to go to war with these entities. And more often than not, Dave, they were not encountering horns and hooves. Matter of fact, not at all. They were encountering people. Some of them were killed before their time. And they would actually possess people seeking different things from them. Matter of fact, one case of Isaac Luria's was just, I need to be buried. And so someone had possessed a little boy, and the little boy said, I need to be buried. And so, these exorcists would go and, go find the body and bury it. And once they buried the body, that entity would leave. And even in my own work, that's truly where I began to understand what's going on. Because, these entities have language preference. We're witnessing memory in motion. They have different value systems. So some Jewish exorcists will have to go to an Islamic exorcist because that possessing entity doesn't believe in Yahweh, it believes in Allah. Now, that's not me. That's the data sample. That's what it says.
Okay.
So, it's still afterlife phenomenon, I guess.
Now, a lot of these Dybbuk boxes or Dybbuk boxes, what do they contain inside?
The idea is a soul. And so that tradition goes all the way back to the funerary rites of Mesopotamia, in the Levant, essentially. The idea is this, that there are two deaths. The first death was when you die, they would put your body in what's called a shelf tomb. And then they would place a watcher to watch your body. The Bible calls them watchers. That was their job. But anyways, so that body would stay in that bench tomb for a year until the body dissolved into nothing but just bones and decomposed. Then the family of that person would take the bones, put it in a box. That's where we get the dibuk box tradition, really, and then bury the box in the earth. The idea is that whoever's bones is in that box, that entity, that person, will haunt it or you. That's where it comes from.
We got about 20 seconds left. I mean, how do they... Okay, you're not supposed to open these, correct?
No, it's like opening a coffin.
All right. Well, leave it there for now. Leave it there for now, because I think that's a good way to step into hour number 2, talking dibuk. I don't know how to pronounce the damn word, but we're getting into these evil boxes coming up in hour number 2 with our guest tonight, Nathaniel J. Gillis. He's an author, lecturer, demonologist. We like to call him a demon hunter around here because that is just such a darn cool name, and I think he likes it too. I really do. So,
I like it.
Well, you should. You should. You need a theme song. You need to come up with a theme song. You go into a haunting or something like that. You need some power metal or something. Nathaniel J. Gillis coming up more in hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Totally need a theme song, man. Totally. All right. I'm going to quickly step out. I got to run my dogs outside. I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay, bro.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent, and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune into SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Hey, Space Travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache. So why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard?
Just under 2.5 minutes.
Sweet, man.
Yeah, having fun tonight, man.
Definitely, man. I'm enjoying myself. And what's cool is, there's a lot of more material to get to. So that's always good.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Dude, isn't that terrifying, though? I mean,
oh, yeah.
These entities appeared to that. Like, a lot of people say, okay, the tradition was, okay, in Genesis 6, they married them. They didn't marry them. They took them. And so, they're creating children that they're really not humans, I guess, in a sense. They have no soul. They're just their skin.
Interesting.
It's when we get, yeah, man. And I first noticed that behavioral pattern in possession cases, So this is all afterlife phenomenon, at least in my opinion.
Well, that's good stuff, man. Good stuff. All right. We got just over a minute here.
Okay. Dude, I'm growing a beard now, man.
Nice.
I'm trying. I know the last. I'm not going to get one like yours, but I'm going to try.
Well, you should. I'm thinking of trimming mine. Makes my face look huge.
I've seen people like that, man.
So
it's like this big old bushy beard.
I got a plethora of hair on my beard right now.
Woohoo.
Mm-hmm. All right, we've got just over 30 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, this stuff's fascinating. That's why I will never not believe. I will always believe, rather, that it's the same entities. It's just like Steve Mayer and Barry Fitzgerald believe. It's the same phenomenon.
All right. Don't forget, if you haven't hit subscribe to our YouTube channel yet, make sure you do so. Hopefully we earned it. Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways, whatever you want to do, and hit that bell so that way you know when we are coming on next for our next show. Do a little shopping at the SOR Vault on our website. Grab some t-shirts, some swag, and don't forget, you can also join our Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. Here we go. Hour number 2.
Follow Dave on Twitter
Music song
at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Let's kick off hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, hanging out with all of you, and tell you, we're having a lot of fun tonight. Glad you could join us. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Heptameris. Heptameris is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking demonology, demons, everything evil with the demon hunter himself, Nathaniel J. Gillis. You can find his books on Amazon, which I suggest you do. Nathaniel, welcome back.
Good to be back again.
Right before the break, we were talking about the Dybbuk box, D-book, whatever you want to call it, that evil box, man, that should never be open. What happens if we open one?
Well, you're going to disturb an entity. And if these entities, these ghosts, if they care about anything, it's number one, has my body been buried? Where are my bones? And they don't want to be disturbed. You know, who would? But if you open that box, you're opening up more than the box. You're opening up yourself. That entity will crawl into you just like it was in the box, and then you'll have a full-on possession case. I mean, you know, it's never good to do it. And it's certainly not good to promote doing it. You know what I mean? I have some people I know that aren't necessarily in the field, but, you know, they think that's the cool thing to do, is to go and to play with this phenomenon. And it's not, because you can awaken the wrong entity, and that entity may know somebody or know other entities. And next thing you know, you're just, you know, you got a house full of demons. It's never good.
Now, can these boxes hold a plethora of spirits at the same time, or is it just one per box?
Usually it's just one per box, especially if that's the box where the bones are buried. You know, so yeah, to answer your question, usually it's just one. Yeah, so no, these entities do possess the boxes. They possess inanimate things. That's what the phenomenon is. They're what they're wanting to do. Even with the box, it's not just I want to inhabit something. See, that's what they first wanted to do. That's what Katamua wanted to do. You know, that was the pathology and how they mutated. Look at how they mutated. Give me an image of me, and then I'll possess it. In Genesis 6, it was give me a body, right? Not a metallic image or an idol. Give me a body that looks like me, and then I'll possess it. So that's why demonologists have to stay on their game, because this phenomenon is exactly like a disease. And I'm afraid, Dave, that if this disease mutates one more time in either its victimology or behavioral patterns, my discipline will be banished into the darkness. We will never understand this for what it is.
How do you hunt a demon?
You understand what it believes in, what it values, what is it after? Is it playing a role? What's its language preference? A demon is not just a disincarnate entity. A demon has a very ancient belief system. And so it knows things that we don't. It's just like Genesis 6, where they stared into the faces of their victims. They knew what they were doing. We just didn't. And so the way to hunt a demon is the same way you hunt a serial killer. It's no different. A haunted house is a crime scene. And so what you do is you reverse engineer the behavior of the demon to understand what it believes in. Let me explain what I mean by that.
Please.
Okay. So here's another manifestation of memory. This happens often in hauntings. Back in the day, in the ancient days, these entities would possess things. And when they were through possessing them, in order to let everyone else around them know that it left, they would break something off of what they were possessing. So if it was an idol, it would be a nose, specifically 3 things, or one of 3. The nose, a finger, or a toe. To them, that was a way to communicate to others around them, to other entities, that particular image is no longer possessed by me. So when you're in a true demonic account, a true demonic haunting, that entity will be communicating to other entities. And in many cases, we've seen this. I've seen this in my own work, where if we have Virgin Marys or Madonnas or statues, we'll go in there and they'll burn the fingertips, or they'll break the foot, or they'll tear the nose off of it. That's a manifestation of memory. That belief, that tradition pre-exists us by 1,000 years. So they're operating off of their own belief system. So the way to hunt a demon is you have to think like it. You have to understand its worldview. It's ancient. That's how you can understand it, but there are different ways to get rid of it as well.
Do they really fear the Bible and or holy water or prayer, scripture?
They hate it. Some of them do. Some of them are unbothered by them. I mean, these entities are like serial killers. They really are. Their IQ is through the roof. They're predatory in nature, and they can see into us in ways we can't ourselves. And so when you're going into homes and hauntings, you better make sure that you're well prepared in at least knowledge of what these entities are, not just traditions and dogma, because these entities will manipulate us. They'll manifest as somebody dear Aunt Edna, who's deceased. Next thing you know, that's not what its real apparition is. You're dealing with a true demonic entity. I mean, can I go deeply into this in terms of the serial killer pathology?
Let's do it.
Okay. So, did you know the BTK killer, when he went to trial for his crimes, they asked him, they said, okay, you had a female victim, and they asked him, they said, where were you at in proximity to her right before you left her house? I'm not kidding. This blew my mind. Now, after he had committed the crime, he had staged the body and placed it, and he actually tied the victim's hands behind her back. This gives us insight into possession phenomenon and how these entities think. Instead, in answering that question, instead of him gathering his own memory through his eyes, he squares his shoulders, puts both hands behind his back. Why? Because these entities are self-seeing. His memory that was being accessed was not being accessed through his eyes. He was looking through her at himself. And that was how he wanted to answer the question. Okay? Number two, that gets into possession, and I'll explain that in a second. But number 2, Jeffrey Dahmer, his last victim, the only one that survived, I believe it was. He said, this guy testified at the trial. He said, I went into the bathroom. And he said, Jeffrey had tried to poison him. And he said, I didn't drink liquor or anything. He said, so I just walked out of the bathroom, turned, and he said, I saw Jeffrey watching the movie The Exorcist. It was his favorite movie ever. And he said that Jeffrey had just entered into some form of trance. Jeffrey was gone. And he said that Jeffrey was just swaying back and forth, sitting on the couch, speaking in an unknown language. That's the pathology here. Next thing, another aspect of this, I should say, is that when Jeffrey Dahmer, when he would kill people, he would do his best to put them inside his body. There's the unification there.
Right.
Or the desire for it.
Right.
I'm going to step into you. You're going to step into me. And here's the most chilling aspect of this. One of his victims, he cremated. He took the powderized bone, and in a fanning motion, he spread it all around his backyard. That's a form of necromancy, Dave. How does he know that, though?
True.
Exactly right. Because it's almost as if these entities are using possession cases and serial killers to train their young, to help whatever species they're creating, to help them evolve. God, I got chills. To help them grow into a new dimension of life. And so when we read true possession cases, true demonic hauntings, and a true serial killer, you're gonna witness a belief system present and a ritualistic mindset. And most of it, if not all of it, is prehistory. That's why in Genesis 6 they were called warriors. Why? Because they're psychopaths.
Right. All right. Let's continue on, because we have a ton of different topics to get into with you tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Nathaniel J. Gillis is our guest tonight. Demonology is the topic. Let's go down the road of exorcisms, because in the end, we have to try and get rid of these creatures, whatever they may be, wherever they may come from. Are there different types of exorcisms out there?
There is. There are many different rites. There's the Islamic rite. There's the Jewish tradition, and obviously there's the Catholic tradition. And some of their rites will overlap. In other words, like, it really doesn't matter what kind of entity it is or what it believes in, or what it did believe in, rather. They'll all respond the same way. Like it's a fumigant, for instance. So a lot of these exorcistic rites will include lighting something on fire and placing it at the nose or the nostrils of the demoniac. It's a fumigant. So that's one of the rites that every one of these entities react to. So it doesn't matter if it's Islamic or Jewish or Catholic. This entity, you're going to get rid of it by that way and that way only. Now, they will have different belief systems, the different traditions, and you'll have entities that aren't Islamic. So they won't respond to the Hadith. You know what I mean? So that's why we have to understand what they believe in. So one of the aspects of this phenomenon that really fascinates me as well is how that we as researchers have based the validity of our exorcisms on the rate of its success and not on the reason for it. If we can understand the why, the how won't matter. And so these exorcistic rites, what they're teaching us, number one, and this has to be understood, these exorcistic rites were curses first that Yahweh, the God of the Bible, placed upon evil, living people. And so what your exorcists did is that they took these texts and said, I'm going to actually live this text out. So in one passage, God says that the inheritance of the evil is fire and brimstone. And so that's why in the first century, we have an exorcist by the name of Eleazar who lights brimstone on fire and pulls that spirit out of a demoniac. Now, here's the question, guys. Why are quote and unquote fallen angels responding to human curses?
Are they maybe are they maybe behind it to support the curse?
No. What my theory is this. the people, the fallen angel theory, it no longer fits, because the term fallen is not in the sense of an angel just descending. It's literally someone dies and they fall. That's why it nephalim. It's the end of life. And so why is it important? It's important because 90% of real possession cases are of evil people who lived and died. And so now they're cursed in the sense that when they possess somebody, all we have to do is go back to curses leveled against them and actually either quote it in their ear or actually live it out in front of them. So again, my question is, if they're actually fallen angels, number one, then why are they being displaced by curses for living people? None of these exorcistic rites, Dave, are for fallen angels. Even throwing holy water, that originated in the Old Testament as baptism. When has a demon ever been baptized or a fallen? It doesn't make any sense at all. And so that's why I think that it's vital for us to perceive this phenomenon as afterlife. It's the afterlife. So that's my belief on that, and it's textual.
Okay, so who gets possessed? Can anybody be possessed? Is it people who don't go to church? What would cause a possession?
Someone, specifically someone who has had trauma or substance addiction. That is the calling card for possession. And let me go back and say this. The trauma is usually, it's either sexual or it's just physical abuse. But the way these entities will use that, specifically women, they'll use that in incubus cases to gain influence and belief from that woman. So let me go back to a possession case in the 16th century, Safdi. Rabbi Sakudo had a case where a woman said that her husband had possessed her. When she met with Rabbi Sakudo, he saw that entity, quote, her husband, in the fetal position, and it looked like she was pregnant, which led them to ask the profound question, is possession pregnancy? And if it is, what role did it play in Genesis 6? Right?
Right.
They impregnated women. Why? Because possession's necromancy and possession's pregnancy. The idea of possession is to exist within a body again. What's the next step? What's the next mutation of these entities? Right? I don't want to just possess in a transient state, and I don't want to just possess people out in the crowd. I want to possess me again. So now I'm going to create a new species of formerly human beings. See, we're so used to thinking of men that look like monsters. We need to be thinking of monsters that look like men. So, is possession pregnancy? If it is, and this is one of the questions they asked, was this woman pregnant or possessed with her husband? And that phenomenon stretches its draconian shadow from here all the way back to Mesopotamia. And truthfully, that is the entire role of the UFO abduction phenomenon. To a T. Matter of fact, guys, in the Apocrypha of John, it literally says that these entities created copies of bodies. Oh, this is going to get good. This is nuts.
Okay.
Copies of bodies. So we could have one apparition in 15 different bodies, and they all look alike. Why? Because he's using them. He's possessing them. So here's also another key aspect of this that has to be understood. Just like in the Apocrypha of John and Genesis 6, the apparitions manifested to these wives in the image of their husband. For what? Looking for consent, right? Watch this. Dr. Carla Turner, in her work with abductees, Dr. Carla Turner had an abductee named Ted Rice. Ted Rice was abducted at the age of 9 years old with his grandmother. In the room where they're abducted to, there came a hybrid being who asked his grandmother for intercourse. The grandmother then said, "I've only been with one man, and that was my husband." Instantaneously, an apparition of her deceased husband manifests. This is demonology. This is UFO abduction phenomenon, period. So again, what are they creating though, Dave? That's where my thought is. What are they doing? And that question, that question will define possession for us. We'll finally, for the first time, see what has been staring at us in the face for millennia. And it's far darker than man's imagination.
Okay. This may be a far out question then, but let's say you have a relationship, you have a child out of wedlock. Is that possession of something because it was not done under traditional way?
No, no, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. What these entities are doing, okay, let me answer that by saying this. 99% of the time, it's just like UFO abduction. If you're pregnant with it, you won't see it until it's too late or even know about it. That's why in the abduction phenomenon, we have tons of cases of women who went through an abduction experience, think they have a child in them. Next thing they know, the child's not there anymore. And we have surgeons who are going, watch this, going into the wombs of virgins, Dave. I know I'm getting excited. Of virgins and finding scar tissue from a birth. So what we're looking at is the same desire that Keramua had. Give me a body so that I can possess it. Now, here was my point with the copies of bodies thing, okay? They're making second selves. In other words, I call it the epidermal essence. The German anthropologist Fritz Kramer calls it the social skin. So in the book, The Red Fez, Fritz Kramer details his experiences in Haiti. And he said that one night he was drawn into this circle of fire, and he saw one of their priests, essentially. And the priest, he had scarred his body from head to toe to where nobody could actually recognize who he was. And so he asked his I guess, tour guide, he said, "Okay, what's this about?" And they said that when our ancestor possesses our priest, it will scar his body into its likeness, Dave. So possession is when it molds you and steps into you.
Right.
Again, it's terrifying because we have to understand what they're after. The second self is the social skin. And truthfully, in my research, it's called the external soul. The external soul is the social skin. It's that tailored existence that they're after. Now, here's what's absolutely profound.
Well, hold that thought, because we only have about 4 seconds here before we got to jump out at the bottom of the hour. Nathaniel J. Gillis breaking down how demons are made. Is it the old-fashioned way, the way we're used to, or is it something a little more devious? We'll find out next on Spaced Out Radio as the Demon Hunter continues with us tonight. It's good stuff right there, man. Good stuff.
Dude, thank you, man. Thank you, man. I was very focused for this show.
Oh, yeah. You sounded great, man.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. But yeah, this stuff is terrifying. It can be, but I think it's actually fascinating because, man, wait till we talk about, what was it? The Old Testament, when the spies went into Canaan. Mm-hmm. They said that they made a very interesting reference, Dave. They said that the land devours its inhabitants. It should be the other way around. What they're talking about is the graves were opening up and these entities were coming out of the land and eating people.
Oh, pleasant. Always pleasant.
Right, man. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Just nice and comfortable. Nice and comfortable chat right there. Fireside chat. All right.
Yeah. That's why they're terrified. Can you imagine?
Nope.
Like just walking by a grave and something walks up to you and you're like, oh my God.
It kind of sucks, man. Not going to lie. That would suck.
Yeah, it would. They were the first vampires. This stuff gets so deep. It's crazy.
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, man. So there's a lot to get to.
It's good times.
But I like it. I love talking about this. And, you know, the more I talk about it, the more the subject's discussed, I think the more insight we will have. I mean, they're looking into us. They've known us biologically for thousands of years. We're just now starting to understand what they are. And they're here, embodied in people, specifically serial killers. I was on a show a while ago where he was talking to serial killers, and I messaged him. I said, I said, do me a favor, cut off all communication, because these entities will use serial killers to see through. And they're like the Borg, Dave. When we're seen by one of them, we're seen by all of them at the same time.
It's kind of chilling.
Yeah. It's very interesting. A lot of it's psychology.
All right, we've got about just under 3 minutes.
Okay.
Chat room's going off tonight, man. You're making them go off tonight.
Good. I hope it's like good going off and not one of those bad ones. They're going off, but they hate you.
I got a few comedians in there tonight. Few comedians.
Sweet.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool, man. Hey, tell you what, we need comedy in some of these topics to kind of lighten things up.
All right, we got just over 2 minutes.
Okay. Alrighty.
It's a good night, man. It's a good night.
Yeah, man. I'm happy to be on. I love being on the show. I had a blast last year, but that was my second show. A lot of things happened. Once I was on Coast to Coast, and it was just things just exploded.
It's usually
so
what
I'm
happens.
hoping to add to this.
Usually what happens, man. At least you came back home, man. At least you came back.
I did. Came back to say hello and thank you.
You say goodbye, I say hello, hello, hello. All right. We got about 45 seconds.
Okay.
All right. Thank you to everybody tuning us in tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Remember, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please do so. We'd appreciate it. And the bell, so you know when we are on the air. It's always 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, Central Time 11, Mountain Time 10, Alaska 8 o'clock. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. Join us and do a little shopping at the SOR Vault. Join the Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. Here we go. Second half of the show kicking off right now. All right, Nate. Music's on.
Sweet.
We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, hanging out with all of you. Absolutely having a great time doing it as well. Want to remind you that if you have missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with demonologist Nathaniel J. Gillis. He's a pretty good dude, pretty knowledgeable, very into his subject. Many will find it woo, others will find it very enlightening. He's got a book out called A Moment Called Man. If you want to check it on out, Nathaniel, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back. And yeah, there's a plethora of topics to cover. I'm excited.
Well, let's get to it. Let's get right to it here. Obviously, everything we are talking about has a biblical term to it. As far as society goes these days, especially in the Western civilized areas, religion seems to be taking a back seat to a lot of this. Has that been a benefit to the demons?
I think it absolutely, 100%. Because I think that it's not just science that we have to understand and that we can use as a tool. We have to go back into history and understand them. What did they do? What did they really manifest in at first? So to have an understanding of at least some religion and religious traditions, not to the point of being dogmatic about it, that will limit the field. But you have to have context to these entities. And especially to understand their belief system, they're operating in and out of traditions to them. And it's not just traditions, it's technology to them. I mean, what does it mean when they can look into the eyes and create something in the womb? That's a belief to them. We see it in tons of UFO abduction cases. Why are they staring at us in the eyes, So to them, that's almost a technology. So I think that the field has to be balanced. And just like we study UFO abductions in terms of the stories of abductees, it would also benefit us to look into the past and say, okay, what did they believe when they experienced these entities?
Okay, so biblically speaking, we read about it in the Old Testament, we read about it in the New Testament. How do we know this is just not folklore and imagination?
We look at the behavior and compare it to it and ask, say, are they doing it today? Are they still doing this stuff? Are they still taking people? One of the discoveries that I made in my own research regarding the Bible is in Ezekiel 13. Yahweh calls these entities soul hunters. And watch this, they're necromancers. Yahweh called them soul hunters, and then he said this. He said, you kill those who should live, in order to revive those who should die. And so what these entities did is they stole people's bodies by removing their soul from them and then taking pieces, if not the whole body, away. So I guess to answer your question, just in that victimology, we can see UFO abduction phenomenon. Especially regarding Dr. Collick Turner's work, where they would have abduction cases where they would have what are called soul receptacles, with copies of bodies that look like clones. Dr. Collick Turner had one lady who was not complying with these entities, and they said, look over there. And she turned, and there was another her, Dave, on a table. And they said, listen, if you do not comply with us, we'll kill you and replace you with another you, and your family will never know the difference. See, this whole concept is surrounding necromancy. Can I go further with this?
Yeah, we got a few minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. The soul hunters in Ezekiel 13 would slip into the rooms of their victims at nighttime and pull them out of their windows. That sounds like it was written by Bud Hopkins, but it was written in Ezekiel 13. Not only would they do that, but they would take the soul, specifically when the person was sleeping, and then they would take a piece of that person's flesh and sew it onto themselves. The Bible calls them patches of skins. I'm telling you guys, who do we know who does that? Serial killers.
And aliens.
Look at the pathology.
And aliens.
Right. Yes, sir. It's fascinating. That's why they're called social skins. So in Ezekiel 13, that's what they did. They took little pieces of flesh off of people to literally tailor a new body for them to step into as consciousness embodied again. That's crazy. What a thought. They're soul hunters. And I have a case, which we'll get into in a second when we're back from the break. I have a case of that, man, where people, this particular individual he was a remote viewer. And he encountered these entities that I'm describing right here. And he thought they were his guides, and they weren't. So I don't know how much time we have. I would go into it.
Oh, go into it. We got like 16 minutes.
Okay.
Lots of time.
Sweet. Okay, watch this. All right, awesome. Watch this. So this particular, I had someone who approached me. He had heard me on a show and said, the scarification aspect of this phenomenon, he said, it really reminds me of something that my father experienced. And so I got on the phone with him, and he sent me some pictures and stuff. And he said, my dad was a renowned remote viewer in his city. And he said my dad would be able, he was so gifted, he'd be able to sit down on our couch, turn the lights off, close his eyes, and leave his body. And he said that my dad would come back into his body when all was said and done, and then instantly scratches would start appearing on his skin. And some of them were religious amulets. And I said, okay. And he said, but the real reason I got a hold of you is because there was something that happened to my father that I'm looking, for more information on. I said, okay, what happened? He said there was one night my father did what he did, left his body, and he said he got back into his body, and there were scars. Like he said, we actually have video of the scarification happening, and it looks to be, this is why we have to know history. It looked to be Egyptian hieroglyphs that these entities had carved on him. Now, what did he experience? He said that his dad was given a word, a password in a sense. And whenever he would meet with these guides, quote unquote guides, he was to ask them, what is the word? And if they were the right guides, and if he was in the right place, they would give him the correct word, and then they would communicate. He said, one night my father did what he always did, landed in a room, hello UFO abduction, with entities lining the left and right sides. He said he approached them and said, what is the word? And he realized that they didn't know it. And when he realized that, they realized that they didn't know it. And he said their apparitions changed into the most haunting, and he said it was unearthly. These were terrifying creatures. But when he got back into his body, Dave, they scarred his flesh with religious amulets. That's the biggest question. Why? But in addition to that, it terrified him to the point that he had a heart attack that night. These are soul hunters. In Ezekiel 13, Yahweh calls them necromancers. And then he says this is fascinating. He says that you sow this flesh on your own skin. And then he said you place pillowcases on the heads of your tallest women. They believed these soul hunters, number one, they believe the tallest among them is their priest. That's why they made giants in the Bible, right? Isn't that fascinating?
Very true.
Not only that, watch this, Dave, not only that, but they believed that the tallest among them was the best at what they called soul catching. And so the taller you were, the better you were, more gifted you were at soul hunting and soul trapping. And so now if we want to go back in time and really understand what they were doing, it wasn't just stepping into a second skin in a social self. It was literally, I'm going to create a giant so that when I possess it, I can hunt souls more successfully. Ezekiel frames it like this. He says that you place pillowcases on the heads of every stature. And that's not just every stature, your tallest among them. So how do we know they're necromancers? How do we know this is not fallen angels? Because the earliest traditions in Halloween, when our children wanted to look like a ghost, Dave, what did they do? They would cut out the eyes of a pillowcase and place it over their head.
Well, if they went from the bottom, that would look kind of weird.
Well, what do you mean? Oh, yeah, I'm talking about, on their head, though. So the phenomenon here, Dave, it's being demonstrated in serial killer pathology, in demonic possession, and in the UFO abduction phenomenon. So my question would be, what is really going on here? Because they're doing something. And that's what led me into this dimension of research. We have the social skin of possession. We have the second self in Genesis 6. Now, what are they creating? They're creating, in Ezekiel 13, they're said to have been creating what's called the external soul. So they're mutating like a disease. Their traditions are there. They'll never leave. But the way they're operating is mutating. So the external soul has to be understood for what it is. See, we are used to understanding the afterlife in terms of the soul looking like the body. That's why we see apparitions in homes. It's not true. The body looks like the soul. It's reverse. That's why in Genesis 6, the actual soul was present. And so through that event, they created a body. Okay? So the external soul is necessary to them because it's the way they stay alive. Does that make sense?
Where are these demons hiding?
In people. They're hiding in people, in plain sight.
How do we let them in?
Consent. They just like the scarification aspect, before they step into you, they will mold you in their image. And by the time possession takes place, they'll step into you, they'll bring their consciousness at one place at one time, and they only do that for one reason, and that is to act, to do something. I had a murder case where an entity possessed two people at once. It possessed the little girl who opened the door, and it possessed the murderer to come in and kill the family. It could not do both. So it manipulated, I don't want to ramble, but yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Can a demon infiltrate more than one person at a time?
Yes.
So how does that work?
It's consciousness. It goes back to Genesis 6 in the Apocrypha of John when it says they made copies of bodies. We can have, it's just like the grays, it's just like possession. We can have 20 different people in one demonic consciousness in every one of them. So when we hear about these grays, these quote and unquote grays, and people think, okay, they're droids, or, they're dummies, or, they're being operated and something's operating through them. Absolutely. You'll have an entity who is stretching its consciousness into many different social skins and working through them just like they do in possession cases. And so you can kill one gray and the consciousness exists. It remains. It's not until you go to the next level, and that's where demonology is. It's not until you go to the next level and say, okay, where is the consciousness located truthfully?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the main? Does that make sense?
Yeah. A couple questions coming from our audience here, if you don't mind. All right. Mm-hmm. Dark Hour is asking, why did Dolores Cannon not believe in possession?
I do not know. I have no idea.
Good answer.
I think a lot of it. Yeah, I just don't know. I think if she doesn't believe in it, she shouldn't. That's just my take, because it manifests daily.
G-Girl is asking, what happens to the soul of a human that was killed by a demon?
Those are the souls that are hunted. They're trapped. They're trapped. They need to cross over. That's what these entities do. They'll kill people outside of their time. That body, or that person rather, will be tethered to trauma, and it will walk around and haunt until they're crossed over. See, that's a fascinating question, because I have long believed that there's coming a day where we will have one person who is possessed with both the victim and the murderer. And when that day happens, that's when demonology is going to be turned on its head. Okay, to go deeper into that real quick, that's a truth. It's not a theory. That, in my opinion, okay, that's why in the debut phenomenon in the 16th century, they were having people possessing people that were murdered, people that they died of tragedy. And for whatever reason, they didn't die when they were supposed to. Why? Because these entities haunted them. And so now they're trapped. These are honestly, a lot of these entities and hauntings we see are people who are trapped in between worlds. And so even in the Perrin case, I'm going to mention this. I'm going to point this out. Andrea Perrin, she said that in The Conjuring, not the movie, obviously, but The House, she said that during the seance with Ed and Lorraine Warren, that something else, a different entity, stepped into that home and pushed all of the other spirits away. Can I tell you what that entity was? That's a soul hunter. I got chills, man. That's a soul hunter, Dave. And there are soul hunters that have victims that need to be crossed over. And so this is going to get, it's very deep, but that's my answer to that question.
Gary in our chat room wants to know if demons can possess animals.
Yes. Yes. We have one debut case where the dog was killed. I think it got ran over by a truck or something. And that entity had possessed the little boy that had the dog. And in the possession, in the exorcistic rite, the entity spoke to the priest and said, listen, I was in a dog and the dog died. And so I possessed the boy. So absolutely, man.
Okay. So are there any current cases that you are working on that involve animals?
No. No, sir.
Can an animal, because let's say a dog, for instance, okay, yes, we know dogs can be vicious and usually it's due to bad ownership and bad training. All right. Mm-hmm. Now, can a dog, because they're of their love for their owners or their humans or their family or whomever, can a dog fight off a demon? Notice I didn't say house cat because they're just pissed off all the time anyways. I think demons would be afraid of them.
Yeah, I think so too. To answer your question, I don't think so. I think that animals obviously live in a different spectrum. They'll sense these entities before we will, in that sense. But no, I don't believe that we can use them in spiritual warfare.
What about the hounds from hell?
The hounds from hell. I don't know. I think those would be apparitions. Apparitions. So these entities will manifest in certain forms. A lot of times it's through what's called the coagulation of water, where they will solidify. They'll take water particles out of the air, solidify it into a form, and use that to exist and to walk. So I believe that anybody who's experienced hellhounds as apparitions, I think that's more along of what would happen. It's not an actual hound. It's just the manifestation of that apparition.
Chris Moe is asking, if I let go, do no harm, does the demon lose?
Let go in the sense of what, I guess?
Just
do no harm.
I'm just going by the question, man.
Okay. I don't know. I think, let me answer like this. If you let go and you do no harm, the demon doesn't lose or win. It's still grooming. In a way. If it's an attachment, it will groom. And so doing no harm and letting go, it's still going to be there. It's still going to use things. If it's an attachment, it's still going to groom you into possession or even pregnancy. So what you have to do or to work on that is to kind of fill in all your voids. If there's trauma from the past, deal with it. You've got to get it fixed. Because they'll use these as avenues of possession.
We've got about 2 minutes here before we got to go to break. Let's get in Itzy Zaza's question here. If demons ever choose to possess someone who has a cognitive problem like dementia or Alzheimer's, is this possible?
Yes, it's possible. Of course. As a matter of fact, if you guys want to go look up a guy by the name of Jerry Marzinski, he's a fascinating guy. He's a researcher as well, but he's more in the psychological aspect of it. He's had people, I think he's a psychologist, but anyways, clinical psychologist. He's had cases where people were thought to be crazy. And it wasn't just dementia, it's just they weren't even here. And sooner than later, he's in discussion with them, and this person begins to display a language preference and a belief system that's foreign to what we have ever heard of. And so he would have conversations with these patients, and the patients would say, listen, they're wanting me to kill you right now because you're affecting their worldview and their life. So again, it's not just possession. It's not in, we can have cases of people who don't even remember, like in dementia, and yet they'll have memory. They'll have a memory of a past life. They'll be speaking a foreign language that even if the person had the full mind, he never knew. So that happens all the time.
How can we take note of it happening?
In terms of how do we understand that it's happening?
How do we know if it's happening to us?
Okay. Well, by the time it's possession, it's going to be transient. So it's going to come and go. It's very, very few cases in the history of the world has there been what Malachi Martin would call perfect possession. And so the goal is this. The goal is not intervention, I guess. The goal is prevention. So the way that you know you're possessed is that you've already been groomed. See, I tell everybody this. Before it conforms to you, before you conform to it, it will conform to you. And so by the time it's conformed to you, you've already conformed to it, and the possession's taken place. And the way to understand that is memories that are not yours, speaking in a language that you don't know. Just many different ways to understand that. But the best way is to ask the question.
All right, hold that thought. We have Nathaniel J. Gillis here for another 30 minutes talking demonology and demons on Spaced Out Radio. Then we're going to Vancouver to join the shift. And then the Newswire and the thought of the day of a jam-packed hour 3 coming up next. All right, man. There we go. We're clear.
Okay.
I'll be right back, okay? We got 6 minutes.
Okay.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you.
All right.
So do your shopping by supporting the store you love.
2 minutes.
Get your
Okay.
So when we get to the bottom of the hour, and I say goodnight to you on the air, just hold on until we get to commercial break, and then I'll say goodnight to you properly.
Okay, that's fine, man.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you want, we can sum up the entire interview We have what, like 3 more minutes, I think it was?
Yeah, it'll be about 23, 24 minutes.
Okay. I'll explain to everyone why they're doing this. What's their end game?
Okay.
You know what I mean? That way I can, sum it all up. I'm trying not to just place all the research on the Bible because there's more than that, but I don't know.
All right, we got about 30 seconds.
Okay.
I got a couple more audience questions here too.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
All right, thank you to everybody who has hit the subscribe button tonight, giving us a thumbs up as well, as we are about to kick off hour number 3 here of the show. And don't forget, you can support this show by joining the Space Travelers Club for $5 a month and doing a little shopping at the SOR Vault on our website as well. Here we go with hour 3. Music's on.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio continues tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Appreciate each and every one of you tuning us in. Thank you for letting us be your nighttime entertainment. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rocking Out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. All of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Heptameris. Heptameris is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, once again, spacedoutradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we bring in our guest, Nathaniel J. Gillis. We are talking about demons, demonology. What is going on with the evils of this earth? He has a good book out called Man. You can find that on Amazon. His website, njgillis.com. Nathaniel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be back.
All right, a few questions from our audience coming up here. All right.
Okay.
Robert is asking, what is your opinion then on legends like the Old Hag?
The Old Hag is a succubus entity. That's where we get the term nightmare as well. It's the entity who will rest on the chest of someone who's sleeping. They're all the same entities. But yeah, the Old Hag, I've actually had an experience with her. But, I had a visitation. But yeah, so the Old Hag is the succubus entity who manifests as an old woman. And most of my cases that I've had of something of that, it's just, they manifest in a very interesting way, and they're there to take something from the victims. The Old Hag is the same thing as a succubus entity.
All right. Itzy Zaza is asking, Nathaniel, do you know why entities choose certain individuals?
I do not. No, I do not. It's just like serial killers with their victims. These entities have individual victimologies. And so they will manipulate certain people and never even touch others. One thing that is common, though, as a thematic element is the way that they groom people. And so, yeah,
All right. I love this question from Anthony. Do demons care about social distancing from humans with COVID?
I think they should. I think that they want to be further from us than we do them at this point.
See, he's a wide awake in the morning over in the UK right now, so it's easy for him. it's easy for him to come up with that kind of humor. All right.
We need it, especially talking about demons.
All right. Moonstone is asking, she's not sure if you already addressed this topic. If someone is possessed and then commits murder, does that person remember what happened while they are being possessed?
Not in my case, and not in most cases. The young woman that had actually opened the door for the other murderer to come in and kill the family, as soon as that entity was done with her, it came out of her, and she didn't even remember what had happened. And that's one of the devastating aspects to this phenomenon.
Funky is asking, where do the demons come from? Are they just the spirits of dead people?
Yes. Yes, these are previously human entities. And so when you experience a true demon, he's going to have his own belief system, his own values, and he will be operating off of what I call the inherited self. Whatever his worldview was when he was incarnate, that's going to be his worldview when he's disincarnate.
Spookles the cat is asking, is Zeus an incubus?
No. No, he's not. Well, he's just not. These are different terms, different what are called hero traditions. So when you have like the Nephilim, the Titans, and all these demigods, they're all what are called Rephaim. Rephaim in the Bible were deceased ancestors who, through dispossessing their body, they were elevated into an hierarchy. So he's not an incubus.
Okay. Final question before I have to ask you about, how do we get things resolved here? Dark Hour is asking, I would really like to hear your take, Nathan, on Maurice Theriault.
I don't know her.
All right, Maurice. Yeah. Okay. Not a problem. Let's move on here. Let's move on.
Okay.
How do we protect ourselves? How do we protect ourselves from this?
Religious amulets and iron. I agree with Steve Mera when I say that these entities hate iron. There's something in it that they despise. And religious amulets. So religious amulets and iron, and put them in your home. If you're having an incubus manifestation, or even if you hear knockings that you can't explain, put a cross in there, or put something of your faith in there. So that's one way you can do it. And go get an iron necklace or something if you're having manifestations like that.
What about crystals? What about putting salt around the windows, holy water, prayers, blessings?
You can do that. Right, you can do that. And those are all amulets in a sense. So you can do holy water, you can do prayers, Bible scriptures. I know people that have placed Bible scriptures on the wall, or they go to bed with a Bible. These are all religious amulets, and they do provide value. Now there are certain things that these entities will be more afraid of than others. Obviously, holy water is one of them.
What about other creatures? Oh, well, hold on a second here, because that also opens up, because we try to protect ourselves within our homes, but when we go out, we don't really do it. And yet there are so many other creatures, and I'll bring up the cryptid world here. Dogman, Bigfoot, gargoyles, gnomes, you name it, fairies and the fairy realm. Okay. Would these all be considered, and because a lot of people believe a lot of these creatures are tricksters, would they all be considered like demonic type entities as well?
They should. Because it's just like Edward Kelly and John Dee. They thought they had the apparition of a beautiful woman in a mirror talking to them. And it was, to give them what's called the Enochic language. It wasn't until that apparition told them to switch wives that they came back and saw that actual apparition, it wasn't a handmaiden, it was an old hag. So these entities will manifest in certain traditions, but they're the same entities. They have the same worldview and the same pathology. So it's like the case I had with the guy the remote viewer, he thought that these entities were his guides until they weren't, until they wanted to manifest and to act upon something. So they'll manifest and appear to us as something to gain our consent. It's not until they have us where they want us that they truly, manifest who they are. And at times that can be very, very troubling.
When does it all end? How does it end?
Here's where I'm at with my research. To answer that question, the reason they're creating a social skin, it goes back to James Frazier in the book The Golden Bow. He said that these warriors, which is what they are in a sense, that when these entities would be in battle and they knew they were going to die, I need everyone to listen very, very closely. When they knew they were going to die, they would dispossess their own body and place their soul in someone else's. So the whole story this evening has been about possession. Is possession pregnancy? Is pregnancy and possession necromancy? Yes, in this context, it is. The reason they're creating second selves is because they're preparing for war. They're preparing to possess many different bodies. That's why they're copies of bodies. They're going to all look the same. And when you see them, you can kill one and never even touch the true demon. So we have to ask ourselves, number one, what are they like? What will they look like? Like if we saw them, would we understand that they're inhuman? Or would they look like just someone we know? So to answer that question, it's going to summarize the entire show tonight. They're preparing for war, and they don't want to die when they go to battle. So what are they doing? They're just creating different possessing pieces. The question I'm asking is, who are they going to war with? Because in the book of Revelation, it says we saw locusts coming out of the earth. It's just like the graves opening up. So that's where I'm at in my research. I'm wanting to know, obviously they're preparing for something. I think it's war. And I think that that's the next dimension of my work.
Until then, what do you do? How do you cleanse? Let's just say old Dave, you come over to old Davey's house here, and Davey's got some demons, okay? Maybe a few aliens hanging out up on the roof, but we got some demons here. How you cleaning out my house, man?
Well, me personally, I wouldn't want to know anything. I don't go into houses knowing anything. I don't want to know what the manifestations are. I don't want to know where the hot spots are in the house. I go in there and I usually, sometimes it doesn't happen like this. Sometimes it does. Usually I go in there and I can locate where the entity actually is. With the murder case, I was out to dinner when they messaged me, and I was stepping into stairs. Like, I don't know if it was astral travel. I have no idea. But I was walking up the steps of a 2-story home, and I had already located where the entity was. It was in a closet. That's where the murder had happened, and that was the entity that possessed the people that committed the murder. So if you were to call upon me, I wouldn't want to know anything. And when I would get there, I would go through every room in the house. I would cleanse that. I would look for any holes in terms of like portals. What am I feeling? What am I smelling? Am I hearing a voice? Is there something or someone trying to communicate to me? And then when I'm done with that, I'll go downstairs with the family and I pray. And I use the information that I gathered from my walkthrough as weapons to identify the entity that I'm wanting to get rid of. With the murder case, the darkness in the room literally fled. You could see it was like someone slowly turned a light on and shadows left. So that would be my approach.
That doesn't sound very television, man. Does not sound very television.
No, that's not. No, that's not very marketable, but hey, it works. It works for me. Other people have their own traditions, but the way my gift works, it works like that. And so most of the time, okay, let me say this. People ask me if I have attachments that follow me home. No, but I will have forerunners that come to me before I have cases. I had one case where I was sitting down on a couch at my house, and a female apparition walked up to me and gave me a vision. And the vision was that she had opened the door to her house, and she said, "I can't go in because of what he did to me." And so I had no context for that. I didn't know where to place it. So I just, put it in my brain, my library, I guess, and, kept doing my thing. And then about a month later, I have a case where they've been seeing a female apparition. And that turns out to have been her. Fascinating stuff. But that's just how my gift operates. Other people are different.
Do you ever worry yourself about being attacked by demons?
There's been about 2 times in my cases where I really felt that I was in the presence of something that could hurt me. And I don't worry as much as I used to, because I'm kind of evolving into a better person in terms of research and cases. But no, not really. 99% of the time, I'm not worried about it. Honestly, that probably comes from me growing up in a haunted house. You kind of get used to it in a sense.
I get you.
Yeah, we evolve and we mutate as well.
Have you ever been attacked by a demon?
No, I haven't. I've had them stare at me. I've had them manifest in stenches. I've had just a thick cloud come. But I've never had something like push or pinch or scratch me. That never happened. It's happened to others. I mean, obviously, but I hope it never happens to me. Let me say that.
We've only got about 6.5 minutes left with you tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And Nathaniel J. Gillis is our guest tonight. Okay, we talked about protecting our homes and how we can protect, our sanctuaries from these creatures. What signs can we look for as individuals to know whether or not something evil or demonic is creeping up on us?
If we're dealing with an individual, I would check your dreams. What are you experiencing in your dreams? I would look for a heightened depression, because what this entity will do, or these entities rather, it will lay on you like a garment. It'll lay on you like a garment. That's why in Psalms 109:6, David said, "Place an evil man on the person." So that entity will lay on you in emotions and consciousness. So you'll see heightened depression. And so your emotions, especially the darker emotions, they'll be manipulated. They'll be more present. So where an area of your life where you would be a little depressed, you're extremely depressed, and you're wanting to do something to yourself. At that point, that entity has stepped into you, and it's going to act. So I would check your dreams. I would look at if any areas of low self-esteem and anger. Those are specifically the corners of consciousness these entities stretch themselves on.
Stone is asking, do demons have an adversary?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Yes. Now,
pun intended,
his name,
right?
Right. Oh, yeah. His name's Yeshua. His name's Jesus. They hate him. They're terrified of him. Because just like Katamua wanted to possess something. These entities, Genesis 6, they wanted to have children and then possess the children. What do we have now? We have the Son of God walking up to them. That's why they're terrified. Because you have the embodiment of deity staring into the disincarnate, saying, "Why are you here?" And so that's what they're terrified of. That's my answer to the question. And that's why I think that Jesus is not just believed in by them, but he is the greatest adversary that they'll ever have. He's the antidote to this darkness.
What if you're atheist or agnostic?
That doesn't. Yeah. Well, they're not, right? They're not. They are fully aware of what they're dealing with and who is truly on the throne. So it really doesn't matter what I believe in at that point. They're going to operate off of their own belief system and fears. So it's not just what they have faith in, it's what they have a fear of. And that is specifically Yeshua. And, that's a whole nother show.
True that. My friend, what do you got coming up over the next little while here? As you continue your walk through looking, stranded at home like a lot of people are these days. How do you deal with demons from in a Corona crowd?
I watch Netflix. And that's not a joke. I mean, I guess it is, but it's really not. I mean, I have a lot of people that call me now because they're empaths. And because of the social distancing thing, empaths are hurting for people that they don't even know yet. And so the gifting is grieving. So one of the ways that I've dealt with it is I've poured myself into research. I've watched comedies. So that I wasn't lying about Netflix, because humor will help break up the darkness. Even in homes, they hate laughter. They hate laughter. Even in exorcistic rites, they hate laughter. So that's what I do. That's what I'm spending my time doing, and just trying to build my research and my person to help better serve this community.
Any more books coming out soon?
Yeah, I'm working on a book called The Skin That Crawls, and I'm going to introduce the actual image of what these entities look like. They're gigantic, so when we see people that are possessed, they're not just in that person, they're sitting upon them like a throne. So they're gigantic and they're ugly in terms of someone who's decomposed. Second of all, they have a language system. In the Bible, they were called Zimzumim because the word Zimzumim, it sounded like their language. And so these entities are just incredibly dark and evil. And so I'm going to detail these entities in that book. And specifically, I'm going to call them molters. And so The Skin That Crawls is going to be out mid-September, if not early October.
Sounds like a good time. Now, somebody like you, as we only got about a minute and a bit to go here, do you try and stay away from the television shows?
In terms of the paranormal shows?
Yeah.
Of course. I'll tell you why. Because I had a case one day where a lady was getting all of her education about her haunting from actors. And so her rites and rituals that she was employing against the spirit, she got from some people, not all of them, but some people that don't even believe in them. And so there's very few researchers in the field that have that kind of platform. And I'm hoping that as time goes on, that we will have better researchers, you know what I mean, in terms of just people who actually believe in it and know what they're doing. And I'm not going to use that as a broad stroke to paint everyone like that, because there's obviously not. But it makes it difficult for researchers like me to go into homes and have to uneducate people off of something they learned from a show.
My friend, it is time to say good night to you. Appreciate you, Nathaniel, coming on Spaced Out Radio again. And thank you for sharing your research and your knowledge with us, my friend.
Thank you for having me, guys. And it was such a humbling thing to be asked back on. And I really enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Not a problem. Nathaniel J. Gillis, everyone. His website, njgillis.com. His book, A Moment Called Man, can be found on Amazon. I highly suggest you get it. Coming up next, we're going to go to Vancouver. We're going to hook up across Canada with the Shift, talk some UFOs, talk some Bigfoot. And then we got the Thought of the Dave, the SOR Newswire, jam-packed as we turn the corner here to start heading for home on Spaced Out Radio. Good job, my friend. Let's give you a few claps there.
Holy smokes, dude. That third hour was tough, man. I start saying words, I'm going, what is that?
Exactly. You were channeling it through. Hey, I appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Bob. Hopefully this was a better show I gave you guys than last time. Hopefully.
Oh, they were both fantastic. We'll do this again, bud.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, man. You have a good one, brother.
All right. You take care. Good night.
Good night.
Another quality guest by Corrence, the booking guy. I had fun with this one, Corrence. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. I really do. Wait for Vancouver to hook up. Let's wait for Vancouver. Mm-hmm. Let's see what old Shirky Poo has for us here, eh? Should we check it, Shirky Poo? Let's go there. Let's go. That's a fun story. Grab another one. We'll do that one. Got that one in there. Should probably have one more just in case. Make sure they haven't emailed me. Nope. Good job there, Corrence. Oh, there's Vancouver. Hey, Vancouver.
Hey, Spaced Out Dave. How's it going, my man?
Riding the high of a 5-2 victory, my friend. Riding the high.
Oh, right on, man. Feeling good.
Yeah. Hey, just a reminder, can't talk hockey tonight. If you can just put that in the old earphones, because my show is recorded and we'll for a couple of stations, and we'll play tomorrow night.
Okay.
So if I go mention in the hockey score, it's going to sound a little baked. So.
Crystal clear. Got it.
Who am I on with again tonight? Eric?
Yes, I was just going to say you'll be on with Mr. Eric Chapman tonight.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. No, I'll tell him to not mention any hockey, and it should be all good to go.
All right, I got it.
Yeah, what you guys chatting about?
We're talking some. Excuse me. I had a very, very cool conversation the other day with Ashley McIsaac.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So we talked for like an hour and a half the other day on Saturday. And he posted a picture. Well, I'll get into it on the show, but he posted a picture of a UFO over one of his concert stages, outdoor concert stages.
Whoa.
Yeah. But that's not the story. I'll get into it. That's not really the story here. Okay.
Okay, cool.
But we'll get into that.
All right, sounds good, Dave. All right, we'll link up with you at 36 in a couple minutes here, and out at 52 is normal there.
Yeah, no problem. I have fun doing this with you guys, man.
Oh, we love it too, man. This is one of my favorite times of the week.
Oh, by the way, last week, who was hosting last week? Was it? Wasn't Eric?
It was Shane.
Yeah, Shane. That's right. He was asking some questions from your audience. So if Eric wants to do that again, I really don't mind. Really don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. We'll do. All right, we'll be with you in a little bit.
All right, man. We'll talk to you in like 90 seconds or so. Oh, if that.
Okay, sounds good, Dave.
All right.
DoorDash.
Vancouver, everybody.
So join us at...
Vancouver. Hey, gorgeous Teresa. How you doing? Nathaniel J. Gillis. Look at you jumping into the YouTube. Look at you. Right there. The bombshell bomber right there. There she is.
Eric Chapman hanging out.
Oh, I like Eric.
Yeah,
Eric's a good guy.
Who else is in the room? Of course I'm talking to you. Goodness. We're going to do some connection here with Dave Scott to Spaced Out Radio in less than a minute. I have to do this timing perfect.
Buds tonight.
Bumblefoot Hot Sauce. Available now at kajans.com.
16,000 kilometers from deep water. Wade. Love knowing my Niagara Falls facts, I tell ya. Niagara Falls!
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you for joining us tonight. I want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. And we're going to get going to Vancouver right now, because we're going to join up with Shane here on the shift. Hi, everyone. Hi, Shane.
Hey, it's Eric, Dave.
Oh, Eric. Sorry. I apologize. My bad. Okay. I'll just slap my hand right now.
Don't worry about
just bang. Just
no,
like that.
Please don't. Just don't call me Shelly and I'll be fine.
No. It's all good, man. How you been doing? Long time, no time.
Yeah, no, it's been good. Things are good. I love the topics for tonight because I saw I think it was a Russian cosmonaut recently post that video up on YouTube of the UFOs he spotted. And so I love the conversation about this. Did you see that video, Dave?
I did see that video. That was very, very interesting. And you know what's even more interesting is the Russian Space Agency was looking into it publicly. They did not edit the video. They did not, try and play it down that it was reflections from stars or Earth's atmosphere or satellite debris. They were playing this up like, hey, we got aliens up here. No, it wasn't really aliens, but they said it was something anomalous that needed to be investigated. I think it's fantastic. I really do, because it gives us the opportunity, instead of all of these cover-ups that we've been having for years. I'm telling you, the world is going to find out very, very quickly, and there's a lot of people who are going to be jaw-dropped when it finally comes out that we may not be alone.
Yeah, Dave, I'm with you, because there's too much evidence, and there's just too much people in higher places saying all this stuff is happening. And I feel like they're at the point, to your point, they're at the point where it's like, you know what, I don't think we can really hide or deny this anymore. So, maybe we'll just start sprinkling in like, okay, yeah, it could be something we don't know yet. So I'm with you. I think this is great news. But what's Canada like when it comes to UFOs? Are there a lot spotted up in the Great White North here?
You know what? I just got a message. And by the way, I just want to give a shout out to one of my listeners, Dalbro. She actually was just allowed back into her home after being evacuated in Penticton for the forest fire. So I want to give a congratulations to her getting back into her house safe and sound. Yeah. So thank you for giving me that 2 seconds to do that. But I just had a message sent to me about 10 minutes ago from Vancouver Island. 10 minutes. This is like breaking news here. All right. Where a couple of buddies of mine, Scott and Sebastian, they're in the Duncan area. They were hanging out, just having a drink on the patio. And of course, now people will start rolling their eyes because I said the word drink. Okay. They were just, shooting the breeze, talking around. And all of a sudden, they get this bright white light that comes over them. So apparently they went out, they were over for dinner, hanging out for dinner, and they decided afterwards, it's a nice night on the island. Let's enjoy the evening as it goes to dark. And here comes this very large white light across the sky. Right above them, over the house, it moved rapidly from west to east, was gone in about 10 seconds. Says it seemed like a craft, still exhilarated by it. Who would have thought that we would have seen a UFO tonight?
Wow.
So
I always wonder too, when there's situations like that, I wonder if they felt anything. Like, I'm always interested in possible propulsion systems and things like that. So when they get close like that, would you feel like anything from the ship, any type of thrust or something, or is there technology to advance? So I love that story, Dave. That's great.
Oh, me too, man. Me too. I think it's fantastic, and I think it's great, because it's so interesting. It's so interesting, and you never know where it's going to happen, why it's going to happen, or how it's going to happen. But I also have something for our audience from somebody pretty famous in Canadian music.
Brian Adams?
No. Well,
okay, so there's one guess. Sorry,
okay, Juno Award winner Ashley McIsaac. So here I am on Saturday, and I look, I have no life. Okay, I really don't. All right, I spend my Saturday evenings perusing Facebook groups, including one called UFOs Above Canada. All right, so all of a sudden I see this name on Saturday, Ashley McIsaac, pop up. I'm scratching my head. I'm wondering if this is the dude. Okay. Pretty famous guy, one of the top fiddlers in the world playing Celtic music. And if people haven't heard his music, please go to his YouTube channel. He's a phenomenal artist. Very underrated, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree with you, Dave. He really is. He's so talented, that guy.
Absolutely. So he posts these pictures, says, while performing at Rollo Bay Festival in PEI in July 2016, the picture was taken while I was on stage. Photo was sent to me by my cousin Wendy, taken by her friend at the show. And above the stage are 4 lights that are kind of cresting downward. Okay, 4 of them, and they're just sitting there. So get this. This is where I get a little upset. Okay, because Ashley, I get a hold of him. I message him on Facebook saying, "Hey, I'm Canadian. I would love to tell your story on the air." Not thinking that he would get back to me. Guess what? He does. We have him booked.
Get out of here.
We got him booked for September 23rd. To come on the show.
Get out of here. That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Awesome,
I'm excited.
dude.
We're going to talk some aliens with Ashley McIsaac. Anyways.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, go.
So he says in this post, I sent copies to a national news outlet and offered to do a story at the time. Apparently, though, it was the same night the ISS had footage of the same type appear. The news agency would not do the story. He says they wouldn't bite, however. If you'd like a copy of the photo, just private message me and I'll send it to you. So I'm like, oh, God, let's do this, right? Let's do this. I'll talk aliens with someone famous like that. For sure I will, Yeah. So here we have someone who has a lot of fame and credibility in the country of Canada. My American listeners will be like, who the hell is this guy? Right? But in Canada, Ashley McIsaac's a pretty big name. And here he is wanting to talk about this publicly, and the media shut him down on that. And that goes to everything that we have been saying the last few times I've talked with you, when I talked with Shane, when I talked with Drex, it's weird. It's weird.
Does that happen often? Do you hear about that happening often?
All the time. All the time. Our media up in Canada here, for some reason, does not want to touch this subject. Does not want to touch this subject.
That's interesting, because whenever on the show I work on daily in Vancouver, as soon as I see a UFO story, we try to jump all over it, and we do it often. So I hope people start to change, because that's a shame. Why do you think it is they keep such a distance from it?
Well, you've been a journalist for a long time. Okay. 2 reasons, in my opinion. This is just my opinion.
Okay.
Number 1, we've always put down that story. We've never, as journalists, wanted to cover it. We think that the average person who follows the UFO world works the night shift at the gas station, wears a lot of tinfoil, plays a lot of video games, doesn't have a dental plan, and is used to making minimum wage because the government always screwed him over or her over.
Right.
That's the image we have in a newsroom. All right. It sounds disgusting, but it's true. Any journalist will tell you that. All right. And thank you for confirming that. Number two, we don't know how to cover the story because for so many years, decades, okay, we have made fun of people who have had these experiences. And when you don't want to cover something or you don't know how to cover something, it's easier to ignore than to waste the airtime or the print time.
Right. Interesting. And you don't want to look like the journalist that wears the quote unquote tinfoil hat and is part of these what a lot of people think are like, we're a little out there, people like us that believe in sort of this sort of thing.
Well, I'll tell you something strange here. I'm not going to mention the name, but recently I got added on Twitter and on Instagram by a Canadian MP, member of Parliament.
Oh.
Why are they following me?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh, sure. Maybe he likes the topics and genre. I haven't reached out to him.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm debating to. I want to, because I know the 9 politicians that I sent my emails to back in July have never responded asking about the UFO phenomenon. But I may reach out to this guy. I want to know.
Yeah. Oh, if you do, let us know what happens if you can. Oh, that would be great. I'm dying to know, too, because is it, like you said, is he just a fan? Is he just into the UFO thing? Or is he like, okay, this guy, I need to, he's sending letters. I need to keep an eye on him. Wow.
Well, remember,
Dave, I love that.
Remember, Winnipeg writer and researcher, gentleman named MJ Banias, okay, before the last federal election in Canada, actually had the aid of a member of Parliament contact him and say, and I know it's somebody from the Conservative Party, contact him and say, what do we do and what do we say if the UFO question comes up from the media? And that was discussed a member of the Conservative Party was ready for that question in case it came up from the media during the last federal election. And the question never came up. So now the question comes with all of this happening in the United States, and UFOs are going to be a hot button topic. There's now, it's looking like there's going to be funding for UFO research in the United States government coming up here for the 2021 fiscal budget. We need to be able to figure out point blank, whether or not or what Canada's role is in this. They've dodged it so far because we don't answer questions like that in Ottawa. But what will they say now? And we need journalists who have the gumption to do their job and ask the question, no matter how silly that question is. I remember a reporter, he works at a different station in Vancouver, so I'm not going to mention the name. Okay, when I was at the BCIT, this person came in and was giving us, when you go to broadcasting school, they bring in current journalists to come in there and give you a pep talk. Well, this person was giving us the pep talk, and he said the dumbest question he ever thought he asked turned out to be one of the best. Because it was back in the 90s when British Columbia Premier Glenn Clark was, talking about doing a bunch of taxing on automobiles and everything. And he asked Glenn Clark, as a rookie reporter, what's rich?
Yeah.
Said, because Clark felt the rich people could afford it. And he asked the question, what's rich? And at that time, Clark responded $60,000 plus a year. If you make more than $60,000 a year, you are rich in British Columbia. Well, we now know due to real estate costs, that is so not true. So not true.
It's not true at all. It's so not true.
Right.
Gosh.
Right.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and wasn't it Canada's former defense minister, Paul Hellyer? Was that his name?
Yes.
Didn't he come out one time not too long ago and just in front of a giant crowd of people and say, look, people say that this isn't happening, but I saw this I've seen the contact. I know it's happening. So to our conversation, I think his words were, we need to start talking about this more because it's starting to come up more.
Absolutely.
And there's just no way that we can stop the knowledge from being out there.
Paul Hillier sent me an email when I wrote the story on my website about the government aid going after UFO questions. And I asked him point blank, I said, has Canada been in contact with any extraterrestrial species? He says, to his knowledge, we have been in contact with 2. How cool is that? How real is that? Cool. We don't know.
I love.
We don't know.
Right, there you go. Right.
So the quote is,
cool.
the quote that he puts here is this. He goes, a former Mountie confirmed in writing that the RCMP were involved and inadvertently told this man, who talked to Hellier, that Canada has been in touch with 2 alien species on the assumption that he was in the loop. But they went mum as soon as they realized he was not in the loop. Aliens,
no
buddy.
Denying it. I love this talk.
Canada's got aliens.
We got aliens, and it's just a matter of time now. That's all it is. We're just waiting. We're just passing the time, and I hope we have nothing but time now with COVID-19. So, I mean, it's tough getting through it, but we're just waiting for it.
Oh, of course. Of course. I mean, hey, the 2020 bingo card is still underway. I mean, who had 2 hurricanes on their bingo card, right? I mean, I know I got aliens on mine. There's got to be some aliens coming up here. You know, if not Bigfoot, my friend. Aliens or Bigfoot. I know I got both of them.
Well, I'll put them both on mine, too. And I wish we had time for Bigfoot, too, because I had some interesting questions about Bigfoot's intelligence. But we got about 30 seconds, so we don't have time for Bigfoot. But I want to say I just love talking to you, Dave. It's great to connect with someone who,
man.
You know, understands, you know, and gets it. And you don't sound a little weird when you talk to him, like I always feel.
Well, you know what? Old Uncle Davey here is here for any Canadian who wants to know whether or not the woo is real or not. Because in my world, it's always aliens, my friend. It's always aliens. Thank you for your time once again.
Thank you, Dave Scott, Spaced Out Radio. Appreciate you.
Take the time to say hello to everyone out there and follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio if you don't mind. And much love, and we'll talk to you soon.
Cool. Thanks, Dave. Dave from Spaced Out
care.
Radio. Yeah.
All right, let's get into this as we got some news to take care of here. This way Captain Shirk doesn't beat me up a little bit. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you Captain Shirk's SOR News Wire, the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the awesome. You know, this isn't a bridezilla moment, but this is something that would freak out any bride and groom. TSA employees saved a bride's big day after her wedding dress was left behind at an airport security checkpoint. The bride's mother forgot to take the red roller bag holding her daughter's gown and mom's dress after she cleared security at New Jersey's Newark Liberty International Airport and boarded a flight to Columbus, Ohio earlier this month. The bride's brother, Christopher Cepeda, filled out a lost and found form online because the wedding was set for the next day. As soon as I submitted the request, we lost hope of retrieving the luggage on time for the wedding, Cepeda said. The website indicated the response time was about 5 days. TSA Administrative Assistant Loletta Nathan Gordon saw the email and recovered the bag in 6 minutes. 6 minutes. Nathan Gordon put herself in the bride's shoes. She said, I could only imagine how stressful that would have been for me if my mom would have left the dress behind. I would have freaked out. Cepeda paid to ship the bag overnight, and it arrived in time for his sister to walk down the aisle. Cepeda said, Nathan Gordon literally saved my sister's wedding. Good for them. Good for them. All right. Moving on here. A man has been jailed after punching a 20 million pound Picasso painting and ripping it from the wall at the Tate Modern Art Gallery in London. Who does this? Well, apparently 20-year-old Shaquille Massey does. He admitted criminal damage after attacking the artist's 1944 painting, Bust of a Woman. Experts told Inner City Crown Court that its repair would take up to 18 months and cost up to £350,000. Massey of Clarendon Court, Willesdale Green, London, was sentenced to 18 months in prison for the attack on Tuesday. Yeah, the court was told that the attack on December 28th of last year involved Massey punching the painting several times with a padlock in his hand. What the hell is he doing at an art gallery and a padlock in his hand? Anyways, before he pulled it off the wall and threw it to the ground. Talk about a temper tantrum. During sentencing, Justice Judge Donne R.D. QC, I don't know what that means, said Massey's actions were nothing more than an attempt to seek notoriety and 5 minutes of fame. Upon his arrest, Massey told police his actions were a performance, the court heard. According to Tate, the artwork depicts Pablo Picasso's lover, Dora Maar, and was painted in Paris in May 1944 during the final months of the Nazi occupation. It is owned by a private collector but has been on loan to Tate Modern since 2011. All right, let's get right to the thought of the Dave. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we take a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air. Because we love the audience participation, let's do this thing. What are your thoughts on paranormal research when it comes to angels and demons? Marty, I think there are actually two different fields of paranormal research. Angels are the light beings that are the messengers of the spirit realm. Demons are a creation of religions to scare people. I believe the dark realm does exist, but it isn't demonic. Haunted history in BC. I believe demonic energy can be a manifestation of external negative energies that could potentially be summoned. Let's get to one more here because this will be abbreviated. Let's go to Michael. You research them, Dave. I will wait. Catherine, wouldn't the only possible research you could do is read the Bible? Pascal gets the final word. It's like a cat researching and trying to understand humans. Thank you to Captain Shirk for the news, everybody in the Thought of the Dave, and to the Shift. Of course, Nathaniel J. Gillis as well. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Thank you to everybody in our chat rooms on Spreaker, YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club at our website, and the Snarkers and Snarkettes snarking all night on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
Make a mistake, we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But tomorrow, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. It's a good show, people. We did well tonight. We did well. A little bit of aliens right to end the cap off the night there. You never go wrong with little aliens right at the end. Thank you, Roy, for taking us home again, brother. Love you, man. There we go. Here I come to save the day. Do 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 do. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Oh, yeah. I'll be right back, people. 87 of you. Let's see how many of you hang out for Davey to get back. All right, old Davey's back. We lost 9 people. Hi, redheaded Lisa. How you doing? Hi, Mary Jane. Good to see you. No, I don't smoke weed. Love the smell, but don't smoke weed. Oh, what am I doing here? Let's go to Dropbox. All right, let's find that file. All right, let's edit this shit. Let's get to it. Yeah, stop talking bad about Dave while he's not here. That's right. That's right. Yes. Yes. File, save. It was a fun show. But I'm yelling! What did I think of what? What did I think of that? What? I'm looking. Thank you. Thank you. So remember, none of you believed me yesterday when I was wearing a Jaws t-shirt. None of you believed me. And yet there I was in my Jaws t-shirt. Yeah, September 23rd with Merle and myself on Ghosts of the Great White North. Ashley McIsaac will be on with us. He's pumped right up for it, too. Pumped right up. He's a good dude. Never mind his talents. He's a good dude. Probably will, Joe. Probably will. The fake alien invasion coming? Well, we'll see what happens. Entirely possible. Funky, good to have you here. Thank you for coming in. Thank you, Pharmacy. Appreciate that. Oh, yes. Yes. I prefer to call it my Thurston Howell III. Lovey. Lovey. Go get me a fucking coconut, will ya? Oh, Thurston. Get your own coconut. You're such a drab. Oh, Lovey, don't talk like that. What was Thurston Howell III's wife's name? For some reason, that popped into my head a while ago, and I can't shake that one. Before I Google it, does anybody know? Does anybody really know what was Lovey's first name? Hey, Cat Chaser, how you doing? Her first name couldn't have been Lovey. Was it Lovey? Was that her first name? I'm Googling it. As soon as I get these loaded, I am Googling it. What was Thurston Howell III's wife's name? Eunice Lovey Wentworth Howell. Eunice Lovey Wentworth Howell. I guess other people have had that question too. Old Eunice there. Thank you, Google. I like Enya. I'm a little Orinoco flow kind of person. Yes, Ashley is awesome. Bombshell, where are you from? All right, those ones are done. Let's go here. Let's go like this. All right. Let's go here now. Why did that get stopped? Hold on, let me find. There it is. Good night, Mary Jane. East Coast, Dave. Oh, you're in the Maritimes too. Very cool. You should be pretty happy that we got Ashley coming on. Maybe my glasses will stay up. Old Dave suffers from oily skin. Always have. I'll be honest, I was a pizza face as a teenager. Pizza face. Night, Jurassic Joey. Anthony from New York. New York, Anthony. I always knew you were from New York. No, I didn't actually. My hair's getting long again, though. That's kind of cool. Not growing it as long this time. All right, there's that one. Like this, like this. Put those in there, close that out, empty that. There we go. Go here. All right, get your verification codes ready. So we're about to verify. All right, let's verify. $915-667. 915-667 is your verification code for tonight. Verify wisely. That should be ready to share. Oh, damn it. Wrong one. Cool. That was sent. A maritimer, Lisa, is someone who lives in Canada's eastern foremost provinces: Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick. The Maritimes are the oldest part of Canada. Although Newfoundland did not join Confederation until 1949, making Canada the only country in the world to go coast to coast to coast, bordering 3 different oceans. How's that for geography? Excuse me. I've never been to east of Toronto. I'm tired. Oh, sorry. My nose is still a little bit sore, too, from my little guy the other night. Hello, Moonstone. Oh, here's an interesting meme. All of these albums will be 50 years old in 2020. The Allman Brothers, Idlewild South, Bad Fingers, No Dice, The Band, Stage Fright, Beatles, Let It Be, Black Sabbath, Paranoid, Bob Dylan, New Morning, The Byrds, Untitled, Cat Stevens, T for the Tillerman, Chicago, CCR's Cosmos Factory, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, Deja Vu, David Bowie, The Man Who Sold the World, Derek and the Dominoes, Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs, The Doors, Morrison Hotel, Deep Purple and Rock, Elton John, Self-Titled, Elton John Tumbleweed Collection. Wow. Led Zeppelin 3, Neil Young, After the Gold Rush, Pink Floyd, Adam Hart Mother, The Rolling Stones, Get Your Yayas Out. Who else in there? Joe Cocker, Mad Dogs of the Englishman, The Kinks, Lola versus Power Man, and The Money Go Round, Part 1. Lola's 50 years old. Look at that. Now, my nose, it's my septum that's broken. It's my septum. That's what hurts. Frank Zappa's Chunga's Revenge, Grand Funk Railroad, Closer to Home, The Guess Who, American Woman, Jimi Hendrix, Band of Gypsies, Jethro Tull, Benefit, the noise in the background? I don't hear any noise in the background. I have a window open. Try that. Okay, that's done. Cool. Those are muted. Those are muted. That's muted. Computer fan, maybe? I don't know. Little Marky Spender, isn't it past your bedtime? Bet you just got home. I bet you just got home. Did you just get home, little Marquis Spender? Tomorrow night on the show, James Goodall is going to join us. And we're going to talk about the SR-71, black projects, secret airplanes. It's going to be fun tomorrow night. Oh, yeah. When the legend of Jim Goodall comes through, we gotta listen. We have to listen. He's amazing. So I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to eat myself a slice of pizza before bed because I'm that guy. And, yeah, I'm going to call it the night because old Davey, I'm going to be honest with you, is a little tired right now. And, yeah. So, yeah, that's it. That's all I got. That's all I got. So, much love to all of you. We'll talk to you soon. I'm going to turn the old TV off here. And we'll be back tomorrow night. Jim's Goodall. Let's talk some SR-71 stuff. Black projects, shall we?